Today's story will tell about the world of spirits and monsters. Here, people learn to release their potential and arouse superpowers. Now people can fight these creatures on equal terms. Awakened people began to be called heroes, and the battles with monsters became something ordinary. The main character of this story is Chris, but he just did not even understand how he got into this crazy world. When he opened his eyes, he ended up on a trash in a new body and with new memories. In the past world, he was an ordinary loser against the backdrop of heroes who aroused superpowers. For him, everything turned out to be a tragedy. In the battle with the local hooligans, he was ruthlessly killed. Now he has received another chance to achieve success. Although this time he has an even more ugly body, he dreams of taking revenge on his killer and finally realize his potential. Chris hopes that in this world people are much weaker, and this will help him reach the top. This simpleton does not even know where he got it. In a few seconds, he will pray for returning home. In this world, everything is completely different. Monsters and demons feel too comfortable. They constantly attack people. If you have no abilities, then you turn into a light snack very quickly. As soon as he started his second life, Chris was already on the verge. Is he really waiting for a failure again? The demon was ready to tear the guy to pieces, but he lost his head himself because of his excessive greed. Chris did not even understand what happened. A frightened boy fell to the ground and almost wrapped his pants with fear. He can calm down. The beauty Sharon is already nearby. It was she who saved his life. Each bend of her body only emphasizes her beauty. It is difficult to resist such a girl. An inexperienced teenager felt his heartbeat accelerated several times. It is time for him to learn that in this world it is impossible to draw hasty conclusions. A beauty can already turn into a nightmare monster in a moment and tear your leg. The faster he will understand the local rules, the more he will have a chance of survival. It seems that Sharon killed the past monster only in order to taste this boy on her own. Chris felt the blood in the veins. It seemed that it was its end. At a critical moment of life, the system of divine choice successfully attached to the beginner of this world. Now the divine system will constantly offer the guy a choice and opportunity. Now he can immediately run away, kneel and pray for mercy, or try to take a chance and kiss this demon for the maximum reward. Chris has already died in a past life. He has nothing to lose, so he is going on a V-bank. He was scared and uncomfortable, but he took a step forward and kissed this crazy beauty. Sharon's eyes immediately changed. The demonic gut was hidden inside, and she again became a beauty. Chris felt like a real man, a conqueror, an alpha male ready for new achievements. After that, she turned and began to immediately run away, blushing like a little girl. With tears in her eyes, she turned and promised to return. After that, some strange hurricane swept along the street, taking this stunning beauty with him. The carrier completed the task and now must receive the maximum reward for his risk. Chris will receive the best abilities of this world and in this life will definitely reveal his potential. He felt the divine power descended from heaven to transform him into a hero. Each piece of his body began to be filled with the energy of the maximum rank. His muscles turned into stretched steel ropes, capable of breaking even Godzilla to pieces. Locals in surprise observed these abnormal phenomena in the city center. The mysterious woman guessed that some person aroused the ability of the maximum rank. In this city, there is only one S-class hero. It seems that his descendant has now appeared here. After a few seconds, Tornado disappeared. Clouds thickened over the city and it started to rain. Chris survived this onslaught, and now the system officially congratulated him on gaining the highest level abilities. His strength is now weak. You need to gradually unlock skills and develop abilities in order to become the best in the world. A previous life should not repeat. Now everything will go differently. He is obliged to achieve success. Already now, in the head of this guy, an ideal picture is presented, where he is the lord of the world. But for this, you will have to go a long way. I propose to make him a company and trace how this guy can get everything he dreamed about in a last life. Now he is too weak, and he better not face monsters on the street. He needs to return home as soon as possible and gradually pump his skills. Thanks to the memories of this body, he immediately went to his chic house. Probably for the first time he came so close to an expensive mansion. Earlier for him, it was a pipe dream. When he opened the door, he saw a little girl in front of him, who is called Margot. She is his younger sister who always loved her older brother. Chris had to explain to her why he was walking in his underpants around the city on such a cold, rainy day. She immediately brought him clothes and made warm coffee so that Chris was warming. He remembered that he was a child who was adopted by rich parents. Then they died, and Chris grew up with his sisters. Both sisters are endowed with incredible skills and have every chance to take off to the top in this world. Only this guy turned out to be garbage, who had received sarcastic ridicule from people all his life. 3 years ago, Brittany, thanks to her talents, was chosen in the Super Cecil department and is now very busy, so it is rarely possible to see it at home. Chris has always been arrogant and narcissistic, rarely paying attention to the younger sister. Now it's time to change everything. He will no longer be a discharge and selfish. Chris will be the best version of himself. As soon as he tuned into the positive, the time came immediately for negativity. A girl from a rich family entered the room. Her name is Lisa, and she is seriously configured. Yesterday, Chris confessed her love to the loudspeaker at school. All the students heard this. Lisa believes that she was disgraced and now requires an apology. Chris is not going to apologize for anything. He just dabbled and does not see anything wrong with it. In this case, he will have to defend himself, otherwise he will become a victim of cruel beating. Lisa is a very talented master of martial arts. She is not the person with whom you can joke. Thanks to his abilities, Chris managed to defend himself from her blow and saw what he should not. Now she will be even more angry with this guy, although he is not to blame for anything. Lisa was ready to tear this guy for the shame that he caused her. Margot intervened in the situation in time, who said that she would not give anyone offense to her older brother. This was enough to reassure a frantic beast and smooth out the conflict. In any case, they will still meet at school, especially tomorrow, when there will be an exam for a test of abilities. Only the best students will get the opportunity to enter the city's main university. Everyone around is sure that Chris is a garbage that will not pass the exam and will study at some university for losers. They do not even understand that he aroused his abilities and is now able to achieve unprecedented success. He just promised his classmate not only to pass the exam, but also to enter the best university of the city. He behaved as pathos as possible, but could he answer tomorrow for his words? In any case, Margot believes in him. Now Chris cannot but justify the support of the younger sister. After dinner, he went to bed in order to be prepared for tomorrow 100%. At night he dreamed of strange dreams, and he did not even understand what was happening to him in reality. A demon. Sharon entered his room, who did not forget that he became the first person who kissed her. She is sure that Chris should take responsibility for her actions, even if he does not like it. In the morning, he quickly had breakfast and ran to the exam. Margot wished him good luck. At night, he dreamed that he was sleeping with Sharon. The dream was very real, and it seemed that everything happened for real. Meanwhile, many people gathered in the secondary school of the city. The exam participants felt intense due to great responsibility. Today, their fate will be decided. Everyone understands that they do not have the right to mistake. Chris is already on the spot and is trying to understand whether the exam has begun, and who had already managed to go through the test. He immediately felt the tension of other classmates, especially a guy named Yang. He always hated Chris, although no one understood where this hatred came from. Probably, Jan also likes Lisa, and he considers Chris his competitor. Meanwhile, the senior inspector ordered the students to prepare for exams. The first student was insanely scary. He felt the severity of public opinion. Everyone around the breath in anticipation of something magical. Pupils should approach the center of the hall and touch the magical sphere. The sphere will show what they are capable of, and apparently this guy can hardly be called talented. The following students also failed when they showed their strong characteristics. The students mocked the losers, although they themselves were no better. Now the time has come for a guy named Yang. Many here support him. As soon as he only touched the magical sphere for a second, everyone immediately saw his strength. It immediately became clear that this guy can call for the aid of the hellish dog, and this is at least Class A. Such abilities are not given to every student at all. Now John is clearly a favorite of the exam. After him came the turn of Chris. He looked confident and relaxed. Everyone around began to laugh, as if realizing that this guy clearly could not cope. Chris is accustomed to consider a loser who achieves the most minimal results. Today this guy behaves unusually, radiating divine confidence. As soon as he confidently touched the magical sphere, everyone around them froze in anticipation. He expected to see the highest rank and ability of the maximum level, but everything went not according to plan. He became the first student to receive the FFF class. The use of such skills is unknown. Everyone laughed around, although no one understood what this level means. Chris could not believe his eyes. He was sure that there was some kind of system mistake. At that moment, he felt icy hands touched his cheeks. Sharon came to the rescue and said that now he would certainly fix his difficult situation. He immediately felt a surge of energy and felt his hand filled with fiery force. After touching the magical sphere, the results changed, showing the maximum potential of S-class abilities. It was very amazing. Not every day you will see a weak guy with maximum potential. Many even thought that he had shut or bribed the inspector. Our hero felt that justice triumphed and did not hide his joy. After the exam, he calmly went for his things in a good mood. There he met Jan, who continued to mock and repeat that Chris is a loser. The potential is not something significant. It is much more important to develop real skills. This is what Jan believes. Chris thought that this guy was just jealous of him. His potential is much lower. At such moments, the system always gives the owner a choice. His further development will depend on this choice. Chris could apologize or just leave, but he chose the best option. With all his strength, he hit his opponent directly in his nose. It was tough and uncompromisingly. Everyone around opened their mouths in surprise. One blow was enough for an instant knockdown. Even Jan did not understand what happened. At that moment, too many students gathered around. This attracted public attention. Mary very quickly stopped the fight and ordered everyone to shut up and disperse immediately. Looking at her shape, it immediately becomes clear that she is the man of the Sunlight Academy. Mary had to obey and continue preparations for the second stage of the exam. The second stage is very important. Who will show a good result? He will immediately go to the Sunlight Academy. Everyone around is as interested as possible. Only Chris is not at all an exam at all. He is always distracted from the important. And because of this, he constantly has problems. Buses with students drove into a deep tunnel and met with incomprehensible creatures. They were attacked by bats, which clearly passed through evolution and became much stronger. One of the buses turned over. The drivers in confusion tried to understand what to do next. A large number of monsters never just attacks ordinary residents. Something clearly attracted them. Even Mary does not understand what is happening, although everyone expects decisive actions from her. Judging by the expression of John, this guy is plotting something bad, and you need to be very careful with him. While Chris paid attention to the monsters and tried to defend himself, his enemy looked directly at him. Jan decided to take advantage of his skills to catch one of the flying monsters. Then he redirected him towards Chris, exposing his rotten gut. Chris has recently acquired incredible skills and is now not afraid of bats. He easily repelled this attack and returned the monster to where he in the place. Meanwhile, a more experienced Mary fought bats and destroyed them with her sharp claws. The students began to relax, and it was at that moment that something similar to an earthquake happened. Flame chains began to appear from the ground, like wriggling worms, which were scattered in different directions. Very quickly, a large number of students were trapped, and they could not do anything about it. Even the local superstar, the beauty of Kira, looked like a caught victor of an experienced predator. Apparently, all this was planned by the biker on a motorcycle that controls the fiery chains. He calls himself boss of the gym, although he is better known among friends as just Harry. This guy came here to create what he wants, and no one can stop him. Mary will never close his eyes to such incidents. In her heart, there is no place for injustice. She immediately desperately rushed to the attack to protect the students and destroy the villain. Apparently, the beauty overestimated her strength. The boss turned out to be much stronger than one could assume. With one blow, he showed who was the main one here and almost broke both legs. The hero always appears at the most critical moment, and Chris is absolutely convinced that he is the very hero. He again decided to act as risky as possible and independently challenge the bandit. The battle promises to be exciting, although this guy has not yet developed his abilities at all. He thought that he had turned into God, overestimated his chances, and then quickly ran into reality. The boss inflicted a crushing blow, and everyone around realized there is no salvation. Our hero was in a knockout and saw beautiful dreams during his flight. At that moment, the same beauty appeared nearby. The demoness called him stupid and too self-confident. She came to help him again, apparently. The kiss worked so much that now Sharon is in love with this guy. As soon as she touches his body, as the guy immediately acquires incredible strength and power. Sharon was too close, and Chris realized that he needed to thank the beauty for help. The man should show the initiative, so it is he who must take the first step and kiss it again. Once he succeeded, but now it is better for him not to repeat the former mistakes, otherwise he will be left without a head. He must thank the demoness for giving him strength, and no longer experience her patience. After a second, he woke up, realizing that he had lost consciousness for just a few moments. Incredible power spread across his body. He felt his hand turning into the paw of the tiger. He is going to take revenge even despite the strength of his opponent. Mary ordered the student to immediately retreat and not risk her life. Jan was sure that all this would end in a fatal outcome. And now, this stupid guy would finally die. They underestimated the possibilities of Chris, who caught the chains flying into him with a slight movement of his hand. Boss of the gym was shocked. This is the first time that someone managed to catch his blow. Now the most interesting begins. The loser has curbed the strength and decided to change his life. He will no longer be the one who is wiped about. This time has long been gone. It is difficult for those who are watching this battle that the loser has turned into a superhero. Even the boss was surprised. He felt a stream of his blood and recognized the skills of his opponent. Now he is going to smear this worm with his fiery bike. Harry reviewed the films about the ghostly racer and believed too much in his invincibility. In order not to die, Chris will have to improvise and skillfully defend against attacks. Only thanks to protection can you use skills and go into a counterattack. During this time, such a girl as Mary will be able to free herself from these terrible chains. The biker felt a monster to steal on his back and thought that Mary attacked without warning. In fact, everything is not entirely true. Precisely, Chris is waiting for him from behind, who is not afraid to act in different styles. Together with Mary, they united to do all the dirty work. Harry was too self-confident. Now his energy was exhausted and he felt the flame devour him from the inside. He connected the regime of self-destruction and almost killed all students of the school with him. Only thanks to a competent reaction, Most of them managed to escape away from this terrible explosion. Everyone was scared and did not know what to do next. For ordinary teenagers, it was a big shock. When the smoke was dispelled, everyone saw that Mary was saved by a guy whom everyone considered a loser. Today, he showed himself from the best side and instantly turned into a local superhero. He always lacked the attention of the public, and now he can enjoy the moment. After that, a robot appeared over the students, which voiced that the second stage was officially completed. The second stage was aimed at practical skills, and the cameras recorded who showed himself best of all. The best participants will automatically become students of the Sunlight Academy. Mary was very unhappy that she was not warned. The Academy did this in order to create a realistic situation. Chris quickly turned into a local hero. Yesterday he was a loser, and today, an ascending star. If this guy is at the Academy, then very soon they will begin to talk about him outside the city. After his incredible achievements, happy Chris returned home. There he was met by his beloved sister, who was waiting for all this time and mentally supported him. Margot congratulated her brother successfully and said that he was always talented. It was only necessary to show her talent to people. This means that the brother will leave this house very soon and move to the university. Now it's time to call the older sister and tell her about how today's exam ended. Brittany was delighted, hearing that her lord brother had finally revealed his potential. She was very busy, so she could not completely listen to his story, but promised to visit him in the future. The tired Chris hoped to sleep and relax at least a little. Sometimes he behaves too naive. Does he really believe that after the whole demon, Sharon will not come to his house? She said that she wants him and needs him, so now he belongs only to her. Sharon can easily teach this guy to use his strength, as well as increase his capabilities. To do this, you need to fulfill only one small condition: marry a demon. Chris could not believe his ears. He really received an offer to sign a spiritual contract. The guy began to refuse and say that he was too early to think about marriage. Sharon did not want to listen to him at all and immediately activated the skill of a bloody contract. Some unknown purple rays burst out of her body and rushed to Chris to hurt him. Now the blood will witness that the marriage between a person and a demon is officially concluded. Our hero felt a slight weakness. It seemed that his consciousness went beyond the body. More than 1,000 years ago, demons and gods fell on this world, sowing death among ordinary people. Even the heroes suffered defeats and could not change anything for many centuries. Everything has changed until the main demon was reborn, after which the world was never the same. Chris quickly guessed that everything he saw now was the memories of his new wife. After all this, the night seemed very long. The dawn had to wait for an eternity. Little Margot woke up her brother and said that she was waiting for him in the kitchen to have breakfast together. The demoness disappeared somewhere. Chris tried to understand what happened at night and how it would affect his abilities. Today, he must go to the Sunlight Academy. An incredibly rich and bright day awaits him. First, you need to say goodbye to little Margot, who really does not want her beloved brother to leave. She had to explain to her that on vacation they would constantly see, and there is no problem in this. Then the inspired Chris got on the bus and went towards a new life. Margot decided not to let her brother go. It is much better to go after him to make sure that everything is going according to plan. Meanwhile, Chris was already near the academy and could not believe that his life turned upside down. Previously, he could only dream of what would become a student of such an academy, because his results were always too low. Many girls have already heard about a local hero named Chris. He was very warm here, very warmly. Our hero decided that now it was not the time to admire the beauties. First, we need to report on arrival. Today, in the hall of applicants of the academy, a real intensity reigns. Here you can hear screams and curses. Bella said that an outstanding freshman should belong to her, and she would not give him to anyone. Apparently, in this building, the one who has the largest breast has the greatest opportunities. Soon, a large crowd gathered around. Everyone saw a guy who proved himself to be perfectly during the exam. About Chris had already begun to compose legends, as if this guy is the main genius of the country. He can clearly become a star of a new generation, so absolutely every older student wants to accompany him. Bella was clearly unhappy with the position. She said in advance that the young talent belongs to her. She calmly waited until all the other teachers began to fight among themselves and took the opportunity. She slowly approached the beginner and offered to meet. Little is known about Bella. They say that she is arrogant, self-confident, and has connections outside the academy. Many teachers want to get a young genius into their subordination, but only one of them will succeed. Bella promised Chris the best hostel, as well as a special position in the future. Of course, Chris agreed to recognize her as his teacher, rejecting everyone else. Now he belongs to her and must constantly report on what is happening in his life. If he ever upset Bella, he will regret that he was born and will beg for death. The arrogant Yang is also at the academy. This guy clearly did not like to be in the spotlight. The Sunlight Academy is known for its advantages and developed infrastructure. Local students enjoy life and live like Hollywood stars. The hostel turned out to be much better than you could imagine. Chris, for the first time in a long time, felt calm and happy. His neighbor will be a fat man. a lover of donuts and a thunderstorm of nuggets off. He is also a student of Bella. His name is Richie. He is already studying in the second year, so he will advise a young newcomer. This guy seemed quite cheerful, simple and cheerful. He could become a wonderful friend for Chris. These guys quickly found a common language and even a topic for conversation. They began to discuss their teacher, as well as all her hidden advantages. The fat man knows that Bella is not the first to offer a special position for talented students. Once she deceived him in the same way, now Richie wants to warn her new friend that all these are nothing more than beautiful words. Beginners do not know what Bella is called a witch. She is a very insidious, cunning, and ruthless teacher. When she talks about a special attitude, in reality it is more like a nightmare. The fat man advises the newcomer to stay away from the teacher, otherwise it can end very sadly. Then he began to tell perverted stories and legends about Bella, and Chris almost lost consciousness from fear. Then he calmed down and said that everything would be fine, so the past student said, "Let's see how it ends. And now we will distract and look at Yana's conversation with my grandfather." Jan came to complain about Chris and ask for support from his relative. Grandfather promised that he would definitely help destroy this arrogant slug. Meanwhile, Chris enjoyed life in a hostel for 3 days and felt total comfort. Now he will feel even better, because his new wife just appeared nearby. Sharon always comes without warning. She is a master of choosing a moment to meet. All this time she is in his spiritual world, so it can appear at any moment. The spiritual world is a space that is created from hidden spiritual energy inside a person. The spiritual world of the demon was previously destroyed. Now she can live only in the spiritual world of her husband. They spoke pleasantly, and it seemed that the first wedding night could happen now. Chris felt happy until he heard loud knocks in the door. Someone decided to ruin his holiday and stop the night of love for a young student. When he went outside, he did not see anyone. Everything was calm. There was a peaceful atmosphere of a summer evening. After a second, everything changed. Some unknown force appeared in the bushes. This aura rushed to Chris. He barely managed to evade. When he returned home, he saw a yellow ferret in front of him, which came to seriously talk. The speaking yellow choir of legends turned out to be a reality, no matter how funny it may sound. At first, Chris tried to understand why this beast came to him. Was it really to make friends? As soon as the student thought for a second, the monster immediately showed his claws and rushed to the attack. It is not known how this story would end if the demoness had not intervened. She saw this little rat and immediately stopped her from an attack on her husband. Sharon was ready to quickly kill the monster in order to continue paradise pleasures. At the last moment, Chris stopped her and even called his love. This was enough for even a terrible monster, capable of eagerly killing a huge King Kong, stopped and smiled. Chris suggested using the yellow rat and turn it into a dinner snack. Very quickly, the Choki was in an unpleasant position and no longer showed his fangs. Chris suggested cutting him in half and bake in the oven. Sharon replied that it would be much better to fry this pig on grill. If the yellow rat does not want to turn into food, then he must tell about his intentions. After a second, it became clear that this monster was sent here by Grandfather Jan. This experienced master is called James. He is a high-ranking Sunlight Elder Academy. At that moment, the system again reminded of itself and forced the owner to make another choice. He can let go of the ferret, or he can eat him and pretend that nothing terrible happened. Chris decided to act like a good man and calmly let go of a small monster. The yellow chorial looked lucky, who tore the jackpot in the lottery. After that, the system automatically awarded the owner of a magic pill to increase characteristics. As soon as this happened, Chris realized that it was possible to change his decision and still fry this yellow rat at the stake. He said that he had not enjoyed delicious meat for a long time and loves oriental delicacies. Then deafening cries were heard. The neighbors were frightened and almost called the police. The little Choke fainted with fright. This monster was too fearful. He did not even understand that no one was going to eat him, but no one will let him go either. Why not make a pet from this small monster named Charlie? Before that, Charlie passed more than half of his life being a free monster. Now it will be difficult for him to get used to a new reality. Meanwhile, his master enjoyed his life and did not deny himself anything. Yesterday, he accepted a gift from the system, and in the morning he felt an incredible surge of energy. The magic pill made Chris stronger, and now he is not tolerated to show his talents. At night, he was a little bad, and Sharon helped to quench the excess energy from the pill. If she were not nearby, then our hero could explode from an excess of energy. After a light breakfast, he went to the academy to take part in the ceremony of the classmates. Here he met with his neighbor, who had just returned from McDonald's. Each girl paid attention to Chris. Because of all these legends, his personality turned into a cult. He was offered gifts and called on a date, but Chris did not pay any attention to it. Then he discovered his teacher, who had long been waiting for his arrival. Bella introduced a newcomer to older students who are called John and Catherine. In addition to them, there are many old acquaintances, such as Mary, who is unhappy that Chris was late for her first school day. During all this time, Bella found out a little about the beginner and got all the detailed information about him. It turns out that Chris is the son of the legendary master whose name is Marcus. In the past, this was the strongest man of the city. Everyone who wants to become a hero knows about him. Marcus was Chris's foster father and fell in love with all the inhabitants of the city. There is also Lisa, who has already noticed that Chris has changed and has become more confident. While she was surprised at his strength, Yang had already managed to come closer to cast a look at our hero. Then the time came to shut up and listen to what the older masters say. Deputy Director of the Academy, Mr. Johnson, gladly welcomed all the new students at the ceremony. He knows that they all came here with the hope of becoming the strongest and is ready to help each of the young talents. The best of the best are collected here. They deserve to receive the personal emblem of the Sunlight Academy. The most talented guys and girls received the same tokens and thanked the Academy for the capabilities shown. Everyone tried to make a spectacular speech to hit teachers. The system reminded of itself and gave the owner a choice. He can make a positive speech, be a little arrogant, or even remain silent. He decided to choose the most harmless option and play the role of a good boy. Chris began to talk about what was always worthless, weak, and happy to be at this academy. Everyone around was in shock and did not understand what kind of nonsense he was carrying. Oddly enough, his speech influenced beginners, and most students began to applaud him. After that, Chris seemed to be replaced. He looked at the most talented students and stated that they were all nothing more than garbage. Of course, he did not like such congratulations. An aura of unfriendliness appeared around. In any case, Chris reached his goal and attracted public attention. He seemed to specifically create all the conditions in order to arrange a conflict. His new friends began to defend Chris from everyone else. I had to explain that he also considers them thick pigs, which are not capable of anything. A fight broke out after a second. All this was needed to check the action of the pill received from the system. Chris turned out to be a real psychoma, the same as his hero father. He was not even enough for him. He continued to passionately desire to test his strength. The best of the best are collected here, and still no one dared to challenge him. It looked strange. Even Sharon came to take him home until Chris finally ruined everything. Chris replied that he was not going to give up and make his first day at the academy unforgettable. In the end, he did not find a single enemy for himself and even lost interest in this for a while. One of the students told him that if he wants to prove himself, he should confess the love of one of the 4 main beauties of the academy, who is the name of Margaret. For Chris, it looked like a red rag for a bull. He quickly felt that he had caught luck by the tail. Everything that happened next can be called the absolute madness of a stupid guy. He entered the general chat of the academy and wrote to everyone that now Margaret is his personal mistress. After a few seconds, he saw angry comments and realized that his plan had worked. The huge army of dissatisfied students was rapidly approaching the location of our hero. This fool does not even understand that he had just signed a death sentence. He thought that he would have to fight with 1 or 2 main hooligans, and as a result, a whole army appeared here. Margaret is incredibly popular, and Chris will have too many competitors. Meanwhile, Margaret was in the school office and also read this message. She was very surprised. The newcomer was the first to dare to so boldly admit her love. It is not difficult to guess what happened next. Chris was brutally beaten and almost died of pain shock. Even the cook of the academy came here to break this fool to pieces. Only at the last moment did the defense appear, in which Chris needed so much. Bella teacher very quickly explained to all the gathered hooligans that they had no place here. Her hellish scream was enough for everyone to disperse, and Chris finally felt relief. She realized that he was intentionally looking for death to train and become better. Bella offers other alternatives. Tomorrow at the academy, a spiritual source will open, which will help students become stronger. Each will have several days to stabilize strength and get the energy of the source. Bella promised a special position and now ordered the student to follow her to fulfill the promise. A few hours later, they were on a huge mountain behind the Sunlight Academy. Chris was sure that he would receive something extraordinary and was absolutely right. The talented student was not ready for this. His physical characteristics are still too weak. Training with the witch might seem worse than death. Now he will remember this for a long time. For Bella, a special position is the same as devilish trials. Perhaps this seems cool from the outside, but hardly anyone would want to be in the place of Chris. He was forced to pass through terrible trials in order to prepare and improve skills. At some point, he even admitted that he would definitely die today and stopped being afraid. Toward evening, Chris turned into a zombie who could no longer do anything with his fatigue. Bella decided to talk about the legendary Marcus. She still cannot forget his achievements. Chris does not know anything about his gait. He heard everything he knows from his acquaintances and friends. Dad never said anything about work. He did not want to devote his family to it. 10 years ago, the demon army invaded the city and began to destroy all living beings. They cut countless citizens, plunging humanity into an unprecedented danger. Marcus fearlessly fought against the monsters with his detachment Baslard. Bella fought with them. They defended citizens, killed demons, and tried to make this world a little better. There were too many monsters. The detachment managed to protect humanity, but almost all the heroes of the nation died in this battle. Although Marcus is not the real father of our hero, Chris still feels pride in this man. He is pleased to realize that among people, there are still superheroes who are ready to give their lives for good. The world is still filled with dangers. Even the death of the legend has not changed anything. The older sister joined the detachment and continues to fight the monsters, continuing the father's work. Chris got into this world and received a second chance. He must take advantage of this to also do something good. Around too many defenseless people who need support and support. He must turn into someone who saves ordinary inhabitants from the oppression of the fear of death. Now it is worth returning to the office of the Deputy Director of the Sunlight Academy. Today in this office is an outstanding student of the second group, Mark, who promises the master that he can easily crush a freshman. If he really can erase a talented guy from the first year in a powder, he will receive 1,000 spiritual stones. This guy has a high rank ability and promises that everything will be done cleanly. Meanwhile, Chris does not even realize that a conspiracy is gradually being built against him. He wants to quickly finish all the training and return to his demon in order to arrange paired cultivation. Charlie gradually gets used to a new life, although he does not like it at all. Chris decided to cheer him up a little and treat him to a delicious chicken leg. Horok was not very happy, and at the end he even warned his master to be careful in the coming days. Charlie did not return from the task. Given the character of his boss, we can assume that soon the master will hire another killer. Chris decided not to pay attention to it and said that he would cope with any threat. He went to the place of today's cultivation. This will happen in a spiritual source. The student will receive 500 spiritual stones from the academy. They will come in handy for a spiritual source. There are a lot of spiritual energy in these stones. They can be used as consumables that restore spiritual power. Everyone around immediately began to rush to take the best place to cultivate. Bella asked her student to return faster, looking forward to their special training. Sharon is already gradually starting to be jealous of his husband to this terrible witch. The spiritual source turned out to be an incredibly beautiful place, ideal for a romantic dinner. Chris hoped that he would be together with the fat man all the time, but it turned out that Richie decided to have fun with the girls. He exchanged a friend for beautiful cheeks and puffy lips. At that moment, I understand him perfectly. You need to be as careful as possible. The arrogant Yang is already here and constantly glances at his worst enemy. At any moment, a conflict may begin. Only one match is enough for the flame to flare up. Chris did not know where exactly to go. He saw a strong gate and thought that something was hiding behind them. In his head, he already imagined that he had found a spiritual source and received all the energy of the universe. In part, he turned out to be right. Here really turned out to be a source of love energy. This guy is constantly lucky. Wherever he went, he meets charming girls. Today, he saw a beautiful picture and almost choked with his own saliva. Finally, he saw the very girl who is called the Beauty Margaret. The system again offered him several crazy options for him to make a choice. Chris has always been a psychopath who loved to take risks. Nothing has changed today. He decided to choose the most risky option and dived into the pool to naked girls. His holiday ended very quickly. Do not forget that at this academy, everyone has the skill of martial arts. In any case, he was very lucky to visit the room where the naked beauty Margaret is located. Other students can only dream of such, so hatred of a beginner will only grow. After that, he finally found an empty source and prepared for cultivation. He undressed and plunged into warm water, around which the aroma of the savannah was felt. Very quickly, Sharon arose before his eyes. He does not like that he constantly encounters other beauties. If he does not change and does not become a faithful husband, he will turn into a snack for a demon. He should not forget who is his wife. If now she is a beauty, then this does not mean that she cannot turn into a monster in a second. Mark has long walked around our hero and waited for the moment to attack. After what he saw earlier, this guy felt incredible aggression and prepared for the fight. Mark is a close friend of Jan. Before they always walked together and planned their evil plans. The Sortone quickly activated the attack of the tiger and began to attack like a fierce beast. Recently, Chris has increased his characteristics, and now his reaction has reached a new level. Even cat speed was not enough to break through his defense. He was faster than the king of wild jungle. With his blow, he struck the bottom of the pool, and it became clear that the abyss was under the source. Chris tried to grab the rock and get out, but the bully stubbornly dragged him down. This is exactly what happens in life. A good guy is trying to get out of the ghetto, but the system pulls him back. When Sharon saw what was happening, she immediately rushed to save her king. All this time, Mark enjoyed the victory. He completed James's task and earned light money. Meanwhile, this fool was rapidly approaching the deep source. Sharon tried to save her husband, but even demonic power was not enough. After a second, Chris and Mark ended up in the water abyss, and then even more strange events occurred. There is land underwater, as if they were on the other side of the world. The demoness caught up with her love and grabbed him like a phoenix who wants to help the owner. Meanwhile, Mark struck the stones hard and felt his ridge broke into small particles. This is what happens when you found a good wife. Her support can cost you life. No one could even imagine that under the spiritual source there is additional space. Here, maybe something is hidden. You need to look around and be very careful. Chris went to the brand and became convinced that this guy was dead. A blow to the ground was too strong. The dead man no longer needs precious stones and gold. There is nowhere to spend them in the sky. That is why Chris decided to take from this guy everything that he has. It was a little creepy, but very smart. Sharon felt the aura of other demons and warned her husband about danger. There was a strange laugh. Chris immediately prepared for battle and took a confident step forward. Under his feet was some incomprehensible ball, as if from a game about Pokemon. Monsters are trying to learn how to play football with this ball, and now they ask Chris to become their coach. If he does not teach them how to play, he will die, which means that the system again offers him a choice. He can calmly play football, abandon it, or kill one of the monsters. The third option, as always, is the most risky, and you can get the maximum reward for it. Chris decided to use the old tactics and pretend that he was choosing an easy option. He suggested playing football and immediately inflicted a crushing blow right into the head of one of the monsters. It was almost impossible to survive such an attack. A little demon instantly died. His best friend immediately began to cry and blame the person of what happened. By that time, the system had already accrued points of characteristics, and Chris felt incredibly. He does not understand that now demons cause help, and a real nightmare will begin for him. Near his wife, he does not lose optimism and is sure that he can repel any attack. The monsters even began to think that this guy is mentally retarded, and he should immediately be delivered to a psychiatric hospital. In any case, they decided to take revenge, that is, beat a person and then cut him into barbecue. Sharon was in no hurry to intervene and first watched her husband mercilessly beaten. Then, the monsters finally paid attention to her and felt a demonic presence. Since Sharon did not interfere, everyone thought that she was still on the fate of this guy. That is why the monsters decided to fry it and cook a delicious barbecue for dinner. If this goes on, then from Chris nothing will remain in a few moments. Sharon was obliged to intervene and send her husband an increase in all physical capabilities. After a second, our hero felt as if energy tears him into pieces. He destroyed all the nearest goblins and saw that he had turned into a Hulk. After that, he called his wife and invited her to spend time together. Someone represents a romantic evening differently, but for Chris and Sharon, romance looks like that. Together to kill monsters and cut them into pieces is what they like the most. It is worth recognizing that now Chris has finally reached a new level and has become much more powerful than before. He raised his rank and felt incredible sensitivity. Before this was not. The demoness is happy that her husband has become stronger. She hopes that at night he will show her all his potential. The romance ended very quickly when the battle was smelled fried on the battlefield. There was an aura of some terrible monster who was approaching very quickly. The wife ordered her husband to accelerate immediately. Otherwise, they will quickly become a snack for the monster. You need to return to the real world and then think about how to use this abyss for your own purposes. When Chris found himself upstairs, he saw a teacher and a best friend in front of him. The terrible demon tried to catch up with our hero and break into the world of people. Experienced Bella immediately showed her 2 super capitals and ordered the monster to retreat. She said that she would deal with this problem and ordered the fat man to get away with Chris. Rarely when you can see Bella so serious. Apparently, a demon trying to break into the real world has incredible potential. Senior students immediately prepared for the battle to help their teacher. Chris decided not to intervene and calmly return home, as if he had nothing to do with it. By the news, he learned that the teacher Bella led her senior students and destroyed the demons. Due to the temporary closure of the spiritual source, the academy compensated the students for the loss. Now everyone will receive a spiritual jasper. The spiritual jasper is the energy core of demons. Spiritual strength and energy are accumulating in it. The quality of this artifact depends on the level of cultivation of the demon itself. Chris was delighted, and then remembered his home ferret, which was already used to a new life. He is loved, hugged, feed, and give a roof over his head. This can already be considered excellent conditions. His past boss constantly mocked him and forced him to perform very complex and risky tasks. The new owner is much better. You can talk normally with this guy, and you do not expect a blow to the back. Meanwhile, Jan came to his grandfather to discuss the next failure of the mission. He is upset due to what happened, and does not get tired of repeating that they are obliged to get rid of the most talented student of the academy. James is convinced that in the future they will have such an opportunity. You only need to be patient. A few hours later it came in noon, and Chris, along with the fat man, went to the local treasury. Here they met a local old man who loves to drink some wine and sleep at lunch. The students came to get a spiritual jasper and finally understand how this incomprehensible object works. The old man seemed the most ordinary alcoholic, although this is nothing more than an illusion. One of his eyes on our hero was enough for Chris to feel a slight trembling all over his body. This can be compared with the spiritual pressure of an experienced monster, which is trying to crush opponents with his aura. Chris thought what seemed to him, and did not pay attention to the old man. The storage facilities of the spiritual jasper are very strong and sealed with a spell. With their bare hands, they cannot open them. The old man allowed students to do everything possible to open a box with an artifact. Everyone chose their own tactics. Everyone around tried to beat, break, and destroy the boxes. Richie used magic and tried to act more intelligently. It is immediately clear that this guy is much more experienced than everyone else. He managed to open the box. Although the result was quite deplorable, he came across a worthless Jasper. Now the time of Chris has come. He felt as if he was taking part in the lottery of his past world. Even here, he was overtaken by a systemic task and classic 3 options for actions. You can open the box in the usual way. You can do this with the help of strength, as well as first consult with beginners and ask for help from others. The result was too obvious. Chris chose the most difficult option to test his strength. As a result, he received the maximum gift from the system and the surprise of everyone who was in the temple. Even the old man did not understand how this small worm managed to open such a strong box the first time. Chris pretended to be nothing more than childhood fun for him. He did not find a good artifact and very quickly realized that it was necessary to destroy other boxes. The rest of the students quickly realized what was happening and asked Chris to help them in this task. The old man had to intervene and ask the guy to stop and cool down a little, otherwise he will smash everything here. The old man decided to take a beginner with him and take a little walk around the temple. He brought him to a strange place so that a talented guy could choose a worthy spiritual Jasper. Children's boxes should remain ordinary, students, and a real talent must choose a more standing artifact. The student liked the Stone of a Flaming Demon, although this artifact has a low rank, but a very high potential for awakening skills. The artifact will allow the owner to get the fiery element and develop it to maximum values. The old man knows that in front of him is the son of a legend, so there is nothing surprising in his talents. Choosing a spiritual Jasper, Chris immediately saw that the system proposes to absorb spiritual energy. After a few seconds, the process was successfully completed, and all the abilities of our hero were developed in the fiery direction. He even unlocked an additional skill called a fist. The fiery element is gradually awakening. It remains only to unlock the rest of the possibilities. Everything happened so quickly that even the old man does not believe his eyes. He saw how the guy began in a matter of seconds and turned into a high-rank hunter. There is still a long way ahead. But now Chris can confidently challenge the monsters of the A-rank too. The heir to the legendary Marcus has a great future, especially after he entered the best academy of the city. A minute later, the fat man ran into the room and ordered his comrade to immediately run through the spare exit. Fans of Margaret again came to pick up his soul, and now nothing would stop them. Chris has just received a new skill, and now he will never retreat from the bully. But on the contrary, they will accept their challenge. He is not afraid to go out and look into the eyes of danger. Now he himself is a danger. On the street, the main fan of Margaret, the arrogant and narcissistic Xavier Nate, is already waiting for him now. He considers himself the coolest guy in the whole city and wants to show his talents in front of the crowd. Classic school showdowns can now develop into something epic. Chris became interested in the battle with a guy who enjoys great influence. If he manages to win, then his popularity will fly up to heaven, and then no one will dare to challenge him. I had to repeat once again that he is a guy Margaret to angry a crowd, and especially Newt. After that, it only remained to wait for this bully to show its best abilities. For Chris, this is a great opportunity to show that his skills are also rapidly progressing. The opponent instantly approached to deliver his blow, a lot of smoke appeared around, and everyone froze in anticipation. Chris managed to react and block the opponent's attack with his left fist. After the protective action, he immediately struck in response and broke the distance. All around were shocked. Nate realized that he needed support for friends to win. These madmen took a gun with them, and now they are going to arrange a battle here as in the good old days. The Italian gun can break even a talented hunter in parts. Chris and Richie need to run away immediately. Instead of a retreat, our main character chose the path of a crazy suicide bomb. He confidently went forward and was not at all afraid to turn into chicken minced meat. The demonic aura arose from his right fist. This means that now we will see sparks and a fiery blow. The outcome of this battle depends on the speed of the reaction, as well as on the strength of the blow. The fat man froze in anticipation of a miracle. Despite everything that is happening, he still believes in his friend. There was a deafening explosion. The heart of the fat man seemed to stop. He felt fear and crazy excitement. All students of the academy drew attention to what is happening near the Temple of Spiritual Power. Nate tried to understand how this happened. Until recently, Chris was an ordinary loser and asked him to be beaten. And now, he does the tricks of Copperfield abruptly. This guy managed to block a cannon blow. He shifted the direction of the attack and almost killed his rivals. In fact, he wanted to kill Newt, but he was a little lucky. And now he has to pretend that he showed mercy. Now no one should challenge him, and everyone around should remember that Margaret belongs only to Chris. The fat man hugged his friend and said that he had never doubted him, although during the battle he was insanely scary. All this time, the old man watched the battle and saw how this guy used his new skills. This young genius will undoubtedly be useful in the future. By that time, Margot began to worry about her brother, who did not call her at all, and writes, she decided to come to the hostel to personally make sure that everything is fine with her brother. Margot knows that he is not at home and still enters the courtyard to make his brother a pleasant surprise. It seems that she does not know at all that a terrible monster, which is called a yellow rat, got here. For a second, Charlie turned into a beautiful protective bulldog and then quickly came to his senses. He realized that he was trying to protect the house of a person who put him on a chain and immediately felt hatred. It is better for him to calm down and get used to the fact that now he plays the role of an ordinary dog. He can think anything and call himself a great yellow holy monster. But this is a long time in the past. If Margot calls him a dog, then it is better for him to close his mouth and keep quiet. Margot does not need to be underestimated. Many have already guessed that this girl has hidden talents. Sooner or later, she will play a role in this story, and then many will understand what she is capable of. Toward evening, the training ended, and the students were released home. Chris returned home, experiencing unbearable fatigue. It seemed to him that now his whole body would crumble like sand. The empty stomach rushed him when he went to the house. He saw that the door was open, although he closed it. Sharon felt a strong aura and asked her husband to prepare for any turn of events. At the same time, Margot tried to make her brother a surprise and was sure that he would like it very much. She jumped around the corner and rushed into the arms of a man by whom she was very missing. Sharon was very surprised when she realized that a strong aura came from a little girl. Charlie silently watched everything that was happening and could not believe that the Queen of Demons was the younger sister of his master. Margot came not only to see her beloved brother, but she also has amazing news. She took an application for homework in order to spend a lot of time with her brother now. Now the Queen of Demons will always be here, and the yellow rat will have to get used to it. Margot already managed to love Charlie and told her brother that she would never be sad now. Margot also noticed that the room was very clean and began to ask her brother a large number of questions. Of course, he did not tell her that his wife demon was engaged in cleaning. This would cause a lot of misunderstandings. Margot warns his brother that the girls are very insidious and cunning, and you need to be careful with them. Now he will have to secretly meet his wife so that the younger sister does not know anything. Margot immediately went to the kitchen to pamper her beloved brother. She turned out to be an inexperienced girl and prepared not the most delicious dishes. In order not to offend his sister, Chris is forced to eat all this and then be sure to smile. Charlie did the same, and as we see, after that he decided to take a nap a little. Chris realized that he would not get out and still have to try this purple hellish mixture. As soon as he brought a spoon to his mouth, he immediately felt a great taste and felt himself surrounded by mermaids deep underwater. Charlie was difficult to observe how his owner pretends to be tasty, because in fact it is worse than rat poison. Immediately after lunch, Chris decided to break out of the house in order not to risk his life anymore. Now it should contain too many pets. For this, you have to find additional earnings. An older sister can no longer give him money. A man is obliged to learn to feed his family himself. On the street, he met with his friend, who for some reason decided to take an axe with him. The fat man said that he was on a part-time job, and Chris immediately began to ask him to go together. The fat man quickly agreed to take a friend with him, and together they went to the Mercenary Hall. This may sound strange because Richie never said that he was working as a mercenary. Previously, Chris knew about the existence of the Union of Wage Warriors, while he was never interested in this. A lot of people gathered here. They all look serious and not very friendly towards beginners. In such places, you need to correctly select words, otherwise you can quickly be without a tongue. Pupils of the academy always have a lot of free time. No one prevents them from finding additional earnings. Sometimes the academy even acts as an intermediary to help students find a job. Chris immediately found the most expensive task and almost went off the mind when he saw potential earnings. Mentally, he has already turned into a millionaire who can afford absolutely anything. It is better for him to go down from heaven to earth and understand that with his skills, he still cannot accept the most difficult tasks. While he wants to arrange the life of a professional lover, the fat man has already found a normal task. He recommends that his friend take a more realistic option. To do this, you have to join the team in which Richie works. The fat man went to his boss to introduce him to the newcomer, who is called a young genius. Usually, freshmen are not welcomed here, but for the sake of Chris, they can make an exception. Mr. Diego is the head of the Pearl Detachment and holds out a hand for dating. He seems to be an experienced and confident man who does not mind working with a young generation. The fat man said that this guy recently received a fiery rank skills and can now be useful. Such a story immediately interested Diego. He suggested Chris to go through a test for his ability. The school used a similar device, so Chris knows what to do. The device showed that the guy has a rank C+. This is already better than during the school exam. We know that Chris has maximum potential, but do not forget that now his skills are not too good. This turned out to be enough to join the Black Pearl team. As soon as Chris heard that he was taken to the team, he immediately began to behave like a smug fool. Girls like his behavior, although other hunters call it excessive pampering. Chris has not yet had time to join the team, but had already found potential enemies for himself. Diego decided to intervene and present all the main members of the group. This beautiful girl with pink hair is the name of Ruth, and the guy who is trying to be like Thomas Shelby is called Ricky. Two grumbling guy's name is Martin. He is the older brother of the beauty Margaret. Now it is clear why his appearance seemed to Chris so familiar. There is no doubt that Martin knows about the case at school, and that is why the newcomer does not like. He immediately decided to show that they are not relatives with him, and he would never give his younger sister to such a homeless person. Martin believes that only he is worthy to be with his sister. His words immediately caused bewilderment in the eyes of the rest of the participants. He had to make excuses and say that he had in mind completely different, but of course no one believed him. You cannot underestimate this guy. He has an average rank and dangerous abilities. The system offers to apologize to Martin, answer him in a hard form, or ignore it. Chris needs to increase dexterity. This can be achieved only by choosing the first option. That is why he quickly approached his opponent and began to apologize. Martin did not expect this at all. A cat appeared in front of him, who gently begged him to forgive him. He gladly accepted the apology, and Chris automatically received 5,000 points of dexterity. After the points were credited, Chris decided to repeat his legendary trick. He swung and with a powerful blow sent his opponent to a hard knockdown. Even Diego could not imagine that the beginner would behave so ugly at the time of acquaintance. This immediately shows that he is not afraid to walk on thin ice and do what he wants. Such actions always have consequences. You can't just come and beat the senior member of the team. As soon as Martin opened his eyes, he immediately said that the second round would take place now. The captain had to intervene so that these guys did not arrange a bloody bathhouse here. Now is not the time for battles, even though the newcomer behaved too self-confident. Chris quickly took possession of the attention of the mercenaries, and also did not forget to angry his wife when he approached a beautiful girl. He behaves as a first grader. Sooner or later it can end in big problems. Now it's worth going on a mission because it was for this that Diego gathered all the mercenaries of the group. It was decided to go to an abandoned estate in the western part of the city. Recently, a group of 7 mercenaries has already visited here. None of these people returned home. According to preliminary data, several ghost people live in this estate. Mercenaries received a simple task, either to expel ghosts or save the missing. At the first glance, it seems that a low-ranking ghost should not make problems. At the same time, it is better not to relax to the team members, otherwise it will be a very hard night for them. Inside the estate, everything shines. An expensive interior is combined with the smell of capabilities. There were clearly aristocrats who could afford anything. The mercenaries were divided, and as soon as Chris was alone, Sharon immediately came to him. She warned her husband that there were really ghosts here who could hide their presence well. You need to be as careful as possible and do not rush in any case. As soon as Sharon left her husband in private, he immediately began problems. Ghosts turned out to be girls who decided to seduce Chris and take advantage of his youth for their own purposes. Chris was absolutely not opposed, but Sharon did not share his opinion and ordered the ghosts to retreat. She will not let anyone use her beautiful husband. He is her personal toy. Ghosts did not pay attention to her and asked Chris to choose who he likes more. It seems that they do not understand at all that a real man never chooses. He takes everything at once. After that, Chris ordered to turn off the light because they no longer need it. Someone tell this guy to be more careful, otherwise he will be left without his male dignity. Chris understood in time that this could no longer continue. He would have to take a step back. His heart belongs to only one woman, and he wants to maintain his fidelity. With his actions, he tried to impress his wife, although it was too late. The sisters' loves are angry. Now they want to taste delicious human meat for dinner. With his actions, Chris called on this room the dead, who were pretty hungry. Together with Sharon, they chose the most affordable and simple option, a quick escape. It is necessary to hurry to find the rest of the team members to unite and fight back. Meanwhile, all other mercenaries gathered in the dining room. None of them found a single ghost. Ricky is sure that it is necessary to continue to search. He feels the presence of dark forces. At that moment, the doors of the dining room opened, and the self-confident beginner finally returned from the assignment. The mercenaries were very scared. They thought that it would be another easy walk. Instead of light production, they had to face 2 experienced ghosts and their army of the dead. This task cannot be called light money. Here you will have to work pretty. Ghosts began to spit some incomprehensible substance of green color. This poisonous mixture very quickly corroded the clothes of most team members. It was especially nice to look at girls who now look even better. At this moment, it is better not to turn your head towards the fat man, otherwise you can lose your mind. Diego quickly took control of the situation and said that now is not the time to be embarrassed at all. It doesn't matter who their enemy is. In any case, you need to raise your fists and prepare for battle. After a second, the mercenaries broke into battle, fighting the demons with all the determination. The captain took advantage of the Phoenix skill and increased pressure on the dead. Richie also did everything possible to win. He even said that if necessary, he would eat one of the ghosts. After a half-hour battle, 2 demons were defeated. Although they are a low rank, they can call and control the minions. I had to sweat pretty much to pacify these girls and bring them to life. After the battle, Chris decided to give his jacket to his partner, who was naked during the battle. She thanked her savior and even kissed him on the cheek. It seems that someone is waiting for a very serious conversation on returning home. Chris acted unfairly. He saved the girl from shame, but did not give his clothes to the fat man. In fact, it would be much more important to dress Richie, because looking at his naked breasts is the same as shooting your eyes. Martin, who did not like the only dissatisfied, remained that the newcomer again won other people's hearts. By that time, Diego had already received news from the association. They were provided with erroneous information, and the complexity of the task was automatically increased. This meant a triple reward for everyone, and therefore a solid jack. Very soon, the association department arrived at the crime scene to conduct an investigation. It turned out that the older sister of our hero, Stunning Brittany, was working in this department. Everyone around was in shock. Chris has such an influential sister? She was surprised that her younger brother joined the mercenaries team. Chris decided to take advantage of the moment and start asking questions about his legendary father. He also wants to join the night patrol and become stronger, but does not understand that for this he is still too small. The sister advised him to return to the academy and continue to grind skills. Soon the night patrol, together with the Sunlight Academy, will conduct autumn tests. At this time, Chris will be able to show off his skills and earn an invitation to the night patrol. Very soon, the investigation was over, and all mercenaries received a reward. Richie was surprised that his friend was in the family of heroes. Now he is proud that he took Chris to the team. Very soon, Chris returned home and was stunned by what he saw. His little pet turned into a Barbie doll, and now it's a pity to look at him. During the awarding of mercenaries, everyone received not only financial benefits, special artifacts were also issued to increase skills. Chris was very lucky. He received a spiritual jasper of a high rank. Now it remains only to absorb energy and feel how the muscles gain double power. Even the sister noticed that her brother really became stronger in a short period of time. He develops rapidly and follows in the footsteps of his legendary father. Charlie also carefully watched, shocked that all members of this family like demons. After the absorption of force, the system unlocked the skill of absolute protection. The attack is the key to victory, but in order to win the war, you need to have impeccable protection. After the absorption of skills, the time came to return to the academy. Chris hurried to his teacher to seriously talk. He wants to take part in autumn tests and get the opportunity to join the Night Patrol. Night Patrol is a detachment from the Association of Hunters who fight with evil spirits and clean the streets of evil. Bella promised to write her student on the list of test participants. Together with Chris, his friends will take part in the autumn tournament. While they bathed in the rays of victory, girls who were praised by determination broke into the class. These are the same girls whom Chris saw naked while bathing in a spiritual source. Now the beauty Margaret and her sister Jessica came here to take revenge. Our hero tried to pretend that they were mistaken, and his name is Richie, and Chris is hiding behind. Of course, no one believed him. The girls did not come here to listen to fairy tales. They are serious, and Chris is better to quickly respond to the threat. He recently raised his level and can now protect himself from such attacks. The skill of absolute protection allows him to feel comfortable at any distance. Now he is so self-confident that he can tease a beauty, not afraid of retaliation. Then, an unexpected incident occurred. Mary intervened. She decided not to help the girls, but on the contrary, intervene and protect the beginner. Even if Chris deserves beating, he still remains part of the team. Mary will not allow offending this guy, even if she has to take part in the battle herself for this. After a few seconds, two girls launched a fiery battle. Jessica has always been unrestrained and too impulsive. It should be used to it. The fat man said that Jessica and Mary are sworn enemies who are competing from the first year. They hate each other and always seek a reason to fight. Chris instantly turned into a support group for his friend Mary. He has already saved her in the past, and now she is trying to repay him in the present. The aura of the battle attracted one mysterious man who decided to intervene. At that moment, Sharon immediately appeared, who warned her husband about danger. She felt a demonic aura and said that this guy could not be trusted. He laughed loudly and said that he was a ghost in the darkness who is not afraid of anything. Beauty. Margaret quickly guessed that this guy came here from the afterlife. The fat man knows that the strongest demonic sect is called the afterlife. That is why he went to call Bella to help and ordered everyone else to be very careful. An experienced hunter should intervene in this situation, otherwise everything will end badly. Already now, many beautiful girls were defenseless before black magic, as if falling into a web. The ghost came here to get Margaret because it is the best part of an influential family. Jessica will not allow some dirty pervert to touch her beloved sister. Another battle is brewing here, and it will be very interesting to observe this. Instead of training at the academy, fights are constantly passing, and this tempers students no worse than mathematics lessons. Very soon, a naive beginner intervened in the conversation. who still did not understand who he was dealing with. This fool does not know anything about the afterlife and sect of demons. The dark ghost was so angry that he suspended his evil intentions to tell the background. The afterlife is a powerful demonic organization in which the fallen people are. For the sake of strength, these creatures are ready to help demons. They sell their souls for the opportunity to take revenge on the world that refused them. All these people are not able to wake up, so they are looking for alternative ways to get power. The ghost came here to demonstrate their power and make everyone tremble in front of the demons. He quickly called the dark aura to the rescue and painted the sky in purple. He activated the skill of a snake den and said that now all students will turn into his slaves. It is very difficult to dodge such attacks. You need a reaction and speed of thinking. Magic snakes are already everywhere, ready to attack until the students collapse to earth from powerlessness. I had to immediately call the association to report about the appearance of a psycho who talks with snakes. Chris only now realized, in this formation he is cut off from the whole world. The connection here simply does not work. The system made itself felt and offered the owner several options for actions. He can abandon everyone and escape, betray the academy and join the demonic sect, or pull time and try to escape. The third option, as always, is the most dangerous, but for betrayal, the hunter can get a pill of life. This guy needs to think faster because the girls are already in a serious trouble. They are trying to repel the attacks of the ghost with all their strength, although it is very difficult. The villain enjoys the moment and is sure that no one will help these girls. Soon the voice of Chris was heard, who decided to intervene and called the ghost Mr. Zmei. He began to apologize for all his past statements and rudeness. One gets the feeling that our hero chose the second system option and agreed to betray the academy for the sake of a pill of life. Or he again tries to cheat, get a reward, and then destroy the enemy. In any case, his acting skills are all the time at a high level. Mr. Zmei is ready to take him to the demon team if Chris brings him the beauty Margaret. At this moment, the task was automatically completed, and one pill of life was already shining in the hunter's inventory. After that, you can forget about devotion and return to the side of the Sunlight Academy. One blow was enough to surprise all the girls gathered here. They never saw such a monstrous power and looked at this guy differently. It is unlikely that the battle will end so quickly. Mr. Snake is craving for revenge. He prepared to show all his aggression and rushed at a self-confident and arrogant young man. The situation was heated to the limit. Even the demoness decided to intervene, overwhelmed by fear of her husband. The technique of a flaming fist will not be enough to stop this ghost. You will have to show the maximum of your capabilities. A dark snake can absorb its victim in just a few seconds, if not reflected the attack. Chris remembered the skill of absolute protection and formed a barrier around him. It helped to defend itself, but this is just the beginning. In such battles, the most hardy warrior, who is ready to go to the very end, always wins. Chris felt that the initiative slipped out of his hands. He began to worry, and then heard a familiar voice. The fat man finally returned, and not one. There was a whole support team with him. Experienced hunters are ready to once again save young people and correct the situation. Bella is a real master of battles with demons. For her, it is no more complicated than a morning warm up. Mr. Snake was in an unprofiting position with his pet. He got angry and decided not to retreat, so as not to enable his demonic boss. This guy is going to go to Baybank and put his life on con. A huge snake approached the teacher and completely swallowed her. All students felt a chilling fear. For a moment, it seemed that the whole world froze. Mr. Zmei enjoyed the victory and repeated that all opponents of the demons would be destroyed. He celebrates the victory too early and forgets who he is fighting with. Bella masterfully paused and then arranged a fireworks, delighting all her fans. Now her time has come to mock her rival and remind who is the main one here. The ghost is not the only one who can call pets. This focus is available to absolutely everyone who has learned the call technique. With the help of the skill of Flames of the Underworld, an arrogant ghost was quickly punished. He did not manage to make his opponent a full competition. It was too easy for Bella. It seems that during sparring, even students make her work more diligent. Now the moment of truth has come. You need to teach a hooligan to teach and make it suffer in full. If he loves snakes so much, then you can arrange a punishment in his favorite style. The ghost was so very afraid of beating that he immediately confidently stated that he was ready to tell everything about the Death Clan. As soon as he wanted to name the name of his boss, the black hand pierced his heart through. No, he was not killed by representatives of the Sunlight Academy. It was clearly someone else. The ghost died due to the intervention of the demon, a terrible woman who came here from the depths of the abyss. An unsurpassed demonic aura appeared in the air. Even Chris realized, in front of him is the strongest monster of the afterlife. Devil Victoria forced all experienced masters to prepare for a difficult test. All students were scared and immediately approached Bella to feel at least a little calmer. They do not understand that Victoria came here not for them at all. She is interested in a guy who radiates a sweet aura. Victoria is ready to forget everything that happened here. For this, she only needs to take a little pet with her. Bella and all the students of the school were scared. They did not have time to react and lost their beloved genius. Chris was clearly not ready for this. His excessive self-confidence collapsed to zero. The portal closed, and he ended up in an unknown world alone with the devil. Here no one will hear him at all, so you can forget about help. The young student quickly pulled himself together and prepared to defend himself with the help of martial arts. He was going to use a flame fist, but the skill was never activated. Even in this world, nothing will help him. His spiritual energy was sealed. Victoria has been watching him for a long time. Over time, she realized that he was much more valuable than the beautiful Margaret. She knows about all his skills and hidden talents, as well as about the help of the system. The spiritual world of our hero is completely sealed. Sharon cannot break out in order to somehow help his beloved. For all people around Chris is an ordinary person. His special abilities are not yet completely revealed. Victoria became the first creature that felt his crazy aura and decided to use it by offering Chris a mysterious crystal. The system quickly came to the rescue and gave the player 3 options. He can abandon the crystal, accept him, and be an obedient boy, or pull the time and try to escape. Chris chose the first option. He refused to cooperate and instantly felt a surge of power. After the refusal, Victoria decided to cripple this handsome man and then feed him with her own blood. He was so scared that he immediately took his words back and agreed to eat the crystal. The devil was delighted that he had turned into a good boy and decided to give him an additional award. You can only dream of such an additional reward. Probably, only the demoness Sharon was upset due to what happened. Her husband swallowed a crystal of demonic blood, but so far has not felt any changes. By that time, friends and teachers came to the aid of a young student. Victoria quickly left the limits of the earth and returned to the underworld. She did all the dirty work, and now there can be no doubt that Chris will be an obedient boy. The nervous fat man ran to a friend and began to frantically ask about what happened. The masters decided not to catch up with a vile rat. Now you need to think about the security of the academy and protect students from future threats. Chris showed himself perfectly, and therefore Bella gives him an additional day of rest. Of course, our hero pretended that he fought with the devil and even managed to repulse her. No one will know that he cried and begged her to leave him alone. It will remain a secret. At home, he was already waiting for a happy sister and a cheerful yellow churil. He brought them a little gifts and made their life even brighter than before. Chris said that there would be no sweets and would go to rest in his room. He looked a little mysterious and even slightly cloudy like English weather. As soon as he ended up in his room, he immediately collapsed to his knees, shedding later. When he took demonic blood, he did not feel anything. But now it seemed to him that his whole body was on fire. Now he has no doubt that Victoria has bad intentions. It remains to hope for the help of his wife. Most likely, the devil sat him a catalyst for potential to cultivate evil power in a talented guy. Now he is not ready to accept such energy and is experiencing hellish pain. There is the only possible way out of this situation. Sharon undressed and offered to unite male and female energy in order to distribute the hellish load on 2 bodies. Unfortunately, we will not be shown details, but I would like to see this special technique of cultivation. The next morning, Chris felt much better. As if yesterday was a dream that was left far behind. Sharon really helped him. Now you need to repeat this practice more often in order to feel even better. In addition, Sharon deserves to restore his material body in the future. Chris wants to find ways and help. When he went downstairs, he found out that his little sister had already prepared breakfast. Last time, she almost killed all the inhabitants of the house. Let's see what will happen today. During breakfast, Margot said that she had heard strange sounds at night, as if her brother fought with someone. I had to say that she probably thought it was just a dream. After that, he blushed and left the house very quickly, citing urgent affairs. The sister felt that he was deceiving her, and the yellow choir had long understood the truth. A few minutes later, Chris reached the audience, deciding not to take the weekend and continue his studies. Richie has long been looking for his friend to discuss something. Last night near his house, demonic energy was seething, and the silhouettes of a naked beauty flashed in the window. Chris replied that he did not understand what his friend was talking about. At night, he only prays and then immediately goes to bed. It turned out that there was even a student from the academy who recorded sounds coming from Chris's house. Chris was very angry and accused his friend of arrogant lies. There are always too many problems from men. Nothing like this happens to girls. Now it is time for them to shut up. Bella entered the office, which means that the one who is angry is now risking to be left without a head. There are only a few weeks left before the autumn test. It remains to break into the teams and prepare for the amazing tournament. Now you need to train as hard as possible. Otherwise, the victory in the tournament will remain only a dream. Bella has prepared a special training plan for her students. They will remember this training for their whole life. For them, it will be a heavenly pleasure, after which they will not be able to walk. A few minutes later, the students went to the mountains to breathe fresh air. Here they will experience their body and mental abilities for 2 weeks. Even fragile and delicate girls are forced to engage in the rude and tough work. Training from Bella is very specific. Only the most resilient will get to the finish line. There is no division into genders, complete equality. Feminists would be very pleased. By the end of the training, absolutely all students regretted that they did not die this morning, because it would be much better to meet with Bella. The next few weeks passed at this pace. The very day of the opening of autumn tests has come. Ordinary students of the academy looked energetic and ready for battle. Everyone who trained with Bella looked completely different. They were exhausted to death, as if revived the dead. None of them could have thought that they would live before this day. It looks more like a miracle. Bella has already decided on the captain and voiced her decision on the opening day. Chris is disliked and sometimes very stupid, but at a critical moment he can take control of the situation. That is why he will become the leader of the team, although the rest of the students are not very happy about this. Only the most powerful and hardy representatives of the academy will participate in autumn tests. There is no age, everyone is equal and charged for success. Each team is sure that he will be able to achieve victory and get ahead of competitors. In addition to the participants of the academy, other talented hunters were allowed to take part here. All this is done in order to increase competition to the maximum level and call even mercenaries here. Now it will be as difficult to win as possible, but no one said that it would be easy. Chris and his friends intend to fight to the last. They called their berserk team and are now ready to show maximum rage. We have already completely forgot about a guy named Yang, although some threat always comes from him. He loudly stated that the Slabakov team has no right to bear the name Berserk. All his actions are directed against the worst enemy, Chris. The system again offers the owner several options. He can prove his determination, ignore or recognize the correctness of the opponent. Chris decided to act according to the first option. He reminded all the audience who was his father. The hero's blood flows in the body of Chris, so he deserves to be the leader of the team and give her any name. If someone does not like it, then this person can approach him and feel the power of a flame fist on himself. It turns out that during all this time, our hero has formed his own fan club. Many guys consider him super talent and are ready to support no matter what. Now everyone knows what trials Chris overcame and how he repeatedly saved his friends. Now, if someone is pestering him, he can always count on the support of the fan club. Yang can forget about his evil intentions and put them off for the future. Unprepared attacks have no chance. If he wants to win, then he will have to come up with something better. Lisa all the time observes her childhood friend and does not understand how quickly he has changed so much. It seems that she was mistaken in this guy, and he really realized his potential. Chris quickly flies upstairs. At such moments, it is important not to get embarrassed and continue to work hard. Bella is pleased that she transferred the Berserk team to his management. She looked high at the sky, remembered her legendary captain, and a lone tear appeared before her eyes. Marcus would be pleased with his son, there is no doubt about it. Having barely entered the academy, Chris has already turned into a superstar, from which autographs are asked. The world seemed to be crazy. It remains only to accept this reality. Now students must prepare for tests. Everything will begin on the territory of the Red Demon. Autumn tests always attract a lot of attention. The participants will be closely monitored. Before the start of the tournament, there is a small tradition of the academy. Different people lay out their goods to earn a little and help participants purchase valuable things. Here you can buy something useful, as well as absolute garbage. Usually no one is interested in this, only inexperienced beginners who are easy to deceive. Chris began to consider different objects and drew attention to the captain of the mercenaries team. He offers interesting items, for example, a precious map on which all dangerous places and warnings are marked. Chris and Diego are already familiar for the first day. The player can count on a discount. Since Chris has no money, he will have to improvise. He decided to take a card without demand and promised to return it to the end of the tests. A daring move. At first, Diego was angry and promised to drive a newcomer out of his team. Then he remembered that Chris took the wrong copy of the card, and the original remained in the hands of the owner. Students should behave a little more serious. Problems will soon begin, and jokes will quickly disappear from their faces. Very soon, the senior examiner of autumn tests appeared to voice the rules of the competition. The cameras will record the whole process, and points will be set for any tests. In the final, the organizers will make a rating, starting from the points earned. The territory of the Red Demon is opening. Now students can go to portals. Everyone was inspired and dreamed of cleaning the demonic territory as quickly as possible. They do not even understand what whirlpool of events they now have been pleased. The demonic world is filled with dangers, and in no case this should not be forgotten. The captain chose the portal and ordered his partners to move directly to the top. After a moment, they all ended up on the territory of the Red Demon and quickly looked around. Chris is sure that with the help of a map, they will be able to get around any danger and go unnoticed. Only now he realized that this portal brought the command directly to the most dangerous territory of the Red Demon. Now they all end. You need to quickly write a will and say goodbye to parents. At the very moment when everyone lost hope, the captain said that he has a plan. If someone else had done this, then the participants would feel hope. But, apparently, they do not trust Chris too much and treat him with fear. At the same time, The masters gathered to carefully monitor the trials. Bella is pleased with the successes of her detachment, which successfully explores the territory. Soon there was a news that a student with his detachment was depressed by an SUV with cameras. The old man from the Temple of Relics was not at all surprised. Now everyone imitates the King of Demons to Chris, trying to create crazy things, like him. In fact, the SUV stole the King of Demons. He again surpassed himself. This guy always chooses the most crazy way and never stops at the achieved. Probably only Bella is satisfied with what is happening, because she is as nuts as her students. Brittany has already blushed several times because of her younger brother. She was embarrassed to look at his tricks. She does not know Chris at all. You need to get used to just enjoy. By that time, the Berserk team went astray and was in an unknown place. John was driving and turned out to be a very bad driver. The fat man asked his friends not to panic and look carefully forward. They drove into some strange village where there is not a single resident. Sharon immediately appeared next to his lover to support him at a difficult moment. In demonic regions, you need to be as careful as possible, but this does not apply to Chris. This guy is always in rock and roll mood and does not know fear. Looking around, the hunters found people abducted by demons. Chris asked his friends to untie the hostages, and he went to inspect the surroundings. Recently, he has become very responsible, like a real commander. Friends were surprised and did not even understand that their boss was still the same fool as before. He just wanted to take a walk and not do any dirty work. During a walk, the captain discovered a red demon supermarket. He decided to have some fun and went, knocking the door with his foot, like a steep gangster from an action movie. Inside is an incomprehensible creature with one eye and a surprised expression on the face. This monster never felt such a strong aura. He realized that the King of Demons was in front of him. Chris explained that he came here without money, but was not going to leave empty-handed. There were no problems, and he was allowed to take anything at the expense of the institution. It's cool to be a strong guy. You can get valuable gifts for free and not be afraid of anything. The store's boss heard some kind of noise and returned to check what happened. He never saw his employee in such a state as if a devil appeared here, who promised everyone to kill. Sharon warned his husband to behave quieter, and now he attracted the attention of an even more dangerous creation. The boss will not allow anyone to rob his store. The conflict matures, which can result in a bloody massacre. To begin with, Chris is better to determine the strength of the opponent and reduce the voltage. He can apologize, show the demon his strength, or tactically competently retreat. Chris decided to show his cunning again. He took a few steps forward and gave the boss everything that he gathered in a bag. As soon as the system award was credited, it was time to dramatically change your decision. Chris took a bag of goods and immediately began to run like a home rat. The demons tried to catch up with him, screaming and promising to cook from this guy a meatball soup. More recently, members of the Berserk team were sure that the captain had turned into a responsible man. Now they will change their attitude when they realize that he had just created them in the blue. Instead of enjoying life, they will have to run and hope that demons are slowly running. All this time, the girls were near the car and waited for them to bring something to eat. They saw that something strange was happening ahead, but did not think that everything was so bad. It is better for them to hurry and start the motor. Otherwise, they will all turn into dinner for monsters. All these events continue to be observed by masters who are no longer surprising anything. A man whom everyone calls the Old Man said that the demons used to rob people. But now the opposite is true, and he likes it. Chris is not bad at all. He grabbed the whole detachment around him, although it was a little defiant. Although he is shameless, but not as stupid as it seems, the most interesting is still ahead. Brittany still cannot believe that this devil is her brother. He used to be a loser, and no one could think that such a talent was hidden in him. In addition to the Berserk team, other students are also in the demonic world. All of them are trying to survive, look for a safe place and at least some food. Now the women's team has a problem. Chris, along with his friends, is ready to fix this. He organized a shopping shop on wheels and can now help with provisions to other students. The girls were scared and did not understand what was happening. It is better for them to calm down. Chris is just trying to help and offers them to buy a few foods. Margaret, unlike her sister, was much more calm about what happened. Then other teams drew attention to the Berserk trading shop. Chris decided to earn easy money and also noticed that his enemy was walking nearby. He decided to change a little and arrange a small rally in the style of Halloween. Meanwhile, Yang, as always, was plotting something bad against his main enemy. He still cannot stand Chris and is ready to take extreme measures for the sake of eliminating it. Soon, a guy in a cloak appeared nearby who said that he was a member of the mercenary team. He honestly admitted that he overheard part of the conversation and hates the representatives of the Berserk team. A friendly conversation and even something similar to a deal began between Jan and the stranger. Jan invites his new friend to unite in order to destroy the captain of the Berserk team together. For this, he is ready to fork out and give half of all his free money. Of course, the mysterious stranger agrees. He accepts money and all the terms of the transaction. It remains only to show where his allies are located, with whom you can unite in order to destroy Chris. The Demon King plays a dirty game and gets true pleasure from this. He likes to fool fools and earn easy money thanks to his cunning. He brought Yana and his team to the dark part of the forest where other players are located. After that, he finally showed his face and thanked Yana for a valuable gift in the form of a bag of coins. He did everything to aggravate the conflict to the limit, and he did it. Ian ordered all the members of his team to immediately arm themselves and bring him the head of this imposter. He still cannot believe that Chris is the king of demons and has hidden talents. For him, he is nothing more than a blank without a future. The battle seemed inevitable until the bald Dwayne, who decided to protect the lone beginner, intervened. He does not like it when students behave unfairly and a crowd attack a loner. At such moments, he longs to restore the balance, even if you have to protect the one who is wrong for this. A new dilemma arose before Chris. He can unite with Dwayne and fight against John, apologize to his enemy, or simply escape. Making a choice is not at all easy, especially given personal motivation. The third option was the most profitable. Chris decided to escape to get maximum benefit. As a result, everything turned out the best. Dwayne decided that Chris trusts him as much as possible and did not even doubt his victory. That is why he left him alone against the whole crowd of rivals. Chris fled and relaxed a bit. This cannot be done in any case because there is a strong demon nearby. By that time, other students appeared next to our hero who clearly fled from the threat. Someone opened the cave with demons and brought them all to the forest. You need to run away immediately so as not to become a snack for monsters. Chris must immediately return to his team and warn about danger. It turned out that problems arose with the car. By that time, the demons were already very close. All the men of the Berserk team began panic. They tried to understand what they would do next. At such moments, experienced women are always ready to defend. If you unite, you can challenge even the most dangerous creatures. When women behave so selflessly, men do not have the right to hide behind them. The Berserk team will finally show true rage and its crazy potential. They acted cunningly and reasonably for a long time. Now the time has come for rough strength and chaos. Richie did not show his skills for a long time and seemed to be afraid to fight. In fact, he was just preparing to call himself a fat dragon to help. Probably together they love to visit Burger King and eat several buckets of chicken wings. You definitely have not seen such thick dragons. This is an obviously dying out. While this dragon has not become ill with diabetes, it can be useful and take advantage of its strength to protect the team. The demons experience problems. Besides, Dwayne appeared on the battlefield. He is not at all offended by his comrade, but on the contrary, he believes that Chris trusts him. He is either too kind or too stupid. In any case, his support can play a decisive role. Together with the Dwayne team, it will be much easier to stop demons. Problems can arise only because of Jan, who still cannot suppress his own anger. He still wants to be ahead and overtake an arrogant beginner who quickly took his glory. This guy does not understand that you can't buy talent for money and will not win in the lottery. A person is born with incredible skills, or must be content with something average. Chris quickly showed the difference between them and did not even strain for this. He decided to leave Yana with a grenade to conduct small teachings. He learned specific training from Bella. Now the student officially surpassed the teacher. Mary shouted at the captain and reminded that now they are fighting with monsters and not with people. A huge mutant appeared on the battlefield with whom it would not just cope. He already managed to eat several demons in order to eat and add a little energy to himself. With such an aura, this guy can scare even the king of demons. Compared to previous rivals, this monster is really strong, even for the entire Berserk team. It makes no sense to retreat. It remains only to rally and fight no matter what. Victory or defeat, death or life. No matter what this will lead to, it is only important to maintain your honor and dignity. It is at such moments that heroic qualities are manifested. Chris's father was a real legend. Now the question arises, will the son be able to reach the level of his father? The system forces him to make a choice. To leave his friends and run, fall to his knees and pray for mercy, or to fight the monster with friends. The reward for the escape and battle is the same, so the choice was incredibly difficult. All team members tried to stop Chris and asked him not to be stupid. The monster is too strong to stop it. Probably, only John wants Chris to still decide to fight. Brittany went crazy with rage, giving an order to destroy all high-level demons. Her assistant immediately decided to send help to the demonic world in order to save the participants. At the last moment, Brittany asked him to stop. It is enough to send people who will look after students, but do not interfere with the process. The older sister decided to trust her brother and see what he was really capable of. If something goes wrong, Chris and his entire team will be saved. Now he would not refuse help because it became clear. The monster is incredibly strong. Chris began to cough with blood and felt how all his internal organs were compressed to a small point. Nevertheless, he asked his wife not to worry and said that he still had the strength to continue the battle. The demon prepared his devilish trident to string a person and eat him in one movement. Chris accepts the challenge. His fiery hand is ready to reflect even the trident of Poseidon himself. This guy clearly does not need to take confidence. Other students should study with him. He was brave until the last second, until the devilish trident stuck into his body. At the same time, strange events took place in the depths of the dungeon of the Red Demon. Ordinary students tried to understand what was happening at the top and thought they were safe. Then there were strange sounds that grew every second. These students were quickly killed by Devil Victoria, who previously destroyed the guard. This monster was clearly underestimated at the academy, and now there may be big problems because of this. All attention is focused on a huge monster. This gives Victoria the opportunity to defeat the indestructible printing with a demonic stone and do all the dirty work. She had not felt such a powerful aura for a long time, and even doubted her skills for a second. Despite this, she still went inside and saw a demon hung on magic chains. She came to free him. The Bloody Demon is one of the 8 great rulers whose small little people decided to keep behind bars. He is so serious that even Victoria lost her composure for a second and was frightened. Then she went to her boss and said that she had brought him sweets. 2 medium-rank hunters can be very useful for a weak organism. Victoria is also a demon, but she has a completely different way to devour people. The Bloody Demon Artemon finished eating a dessert and now decided to enjoy the fresh air, taking revenge on the people. By that time, the situation in the demonic world got out of control. Chris missed a powerful blow and lost all his strength. Dwayne was upset, seeing his ally fights in a mortal battle alone. It is worth recalling that recently, Chris received a pill of life from the system. Now he took advantage of this artifact to restore health. By that time, the demon was completely crazy and decided to fry all the students gathered in the forest. He decided to start eating girls and feel the delicate taste of their sweet body. The captain will never allow offending his allies. As soon as he returned his energy, he immediately rushed on the attack on the merciless tyrant. The second round had just begun, and the demon immediately realized that the opponent had gained additional forces. With his blow, he made a huge hole in the body of the monster. The effect of demonic pressure immediately disappeared, and everyone around felt how it became easier for them to breathe. Now students can move, and all thanks to the help of their fearless captain. It's time to unite and finally put an end to all these crazy torment. Together they form a great power that destroyed everything in its path. Even Sharon wants to participate in a party and is ready to share demonic energy for this. Then it became even more fun, because the members of the Yana team threw the captain to fight the monster. They felt that they wanted to be involved in something more. A few minutes later, a huge demon was destroyed, and the cameras photographed every fragment of this legendary battle. The old man and Bella were satisfied. They were not mistaken in this guy, and he did not fail them. Brittany was proudly in her eyes, watched her brother saving defenseless beauties and shows her courage. It seemed that finally a happy ending came, but, as always, everything went not according to plan. The indestructible seal of the Red Demon was asleep, and the monster returned to this world. It is necessary to immediately notify all participants so that they leave the territory of demons as soon as possible. Chris does not yet know about problems and celebrates the execution of the task, as well as obtaining an accidental book of skills. He confidently raised his characteristics and decided to learn new fighting techniques. Now he has received the ability of an incomparable egg and can convert his spiritual energy into a nutrient egg. Now it can be considered a chicken that carries very nutritious eggs. The fat man was nearby, so it was necessary to immediately check how much it was a working tool. This guy has already tried many different delicacies and knows a lot about it. Having tasted the egg a bit, he said that he had never eaten anything more tasty in his life. Now the fat man has turned into an egg drug addict, who will constantly ask for an additive. Chris said that he was happy to launch cereal production. He is ready to feed all the members of his team and give them a little energy. If it seems to you that now you see a dream of a crazy psychopath, then I understand you. It is better for students to calm down. Urgent information just sounded. They need to leave the place of testing through portals as soon as possible. The terrible monsters are already very close, if they meet. Then all this will end with sad consequences. Many students have not yet managed to leave the territory and behaved too slow. They were warned that they need to hurry, and now they themselves are to blame for what happened. The Bloody Demon is already nearby, is looking forward to the opportunity to arrange another snack. When he looked at these girls, he lost his appetite. Now he wants to find someone more attractive. If there is nobody beautiful nearby, you have to use magical artifacts. The fan of beauty very quickly changed the girls and turned them into extraterrestrial beauties. Now you can enjoy them. Now they are clearly like sweet donuts. This is how bloody demons eat. It looks really creepy. Something they resemble vampires, although at the same time they have much more privileges. Victoria warned her ally that somewhere nearby the King of Demons was walking around. This is an ordinary guy who got his nickname thanks to crazy talent. Artemon is not afraid of anything, and this is his big mistake. Victoria wanted to warn her ally that Chris should never eat. He should go to the boss. She did not have time to do this due to the fact that experienced masters intervened in a dialogue. The battle begins in which no one has the right to give in. Demons will fight for the opportunity to return and return the former potential. while people will do everything possible to prevent a catastrophe and protect the Earth. Brittany immediately showed her talents and surprised the devil. Ardamon has not yet returned its former power and therefore decided to retreat. He does not have time for children's games. He wants to meet with the bearer of demonic energy. Masters must accelerate so that in no case none of the students will suffer. A massacre will inevitably take place on the territory of the Red Demon. It remains only to hope for the best and believe in miracles. Many students have already gathered on the outskirts of the demonic territory. Portals still did not open and many began to panic. After all, no one still knows what happened. Everyone behaves slammedly and even a little carelessly. Jan again tried to spoil everyone's mood, and he almost succeeded. He was ready for a conflict, but finally a portal was opened from which powerful creatures appeared. Ardamon carefully examined every small worm in this territory. At the same time, Chris recognized Victoria, who recently shared with him demonic blood. In a second, each student felt incredible bloody pressure. It was simply impossible to stand. The vessels in the eyes burst from overvoltage. The heart seemed to stop and refuse to pump blood. Sharon explained that there is one of the great rulers here. You need to immediately run away. All these children will not go anywhere. They are destined to turn into food for monsters. Even such talents as Dwayne cannot do anything about it. The monster sniffed every student and finally realized who was special here. With his invisible hand, he grabbed Chris and began to pull him to him. The bearer of demonic power should have been more powerful, but turned out to be small and fragile, like chips. Chris still cannot understand why Boss was needed by the afterlife. By that time, the portal was already activated and began to suck in all the living and the dead. Chris was kidnapped, but all the other students were not injured, despite the meeting with the devil himself. Brittany was very scared when she realized that her brother was in mortal danger. She saw a bloody sphere and realized that Chris was in a crazy whirlpool. This is a personal space created by a demon. If someone from the outside goes there, then it will immediately collapse. It remains only to wait and hope that everything will end in the best way. Chris must pull time while his friends are trying to find a way to pull him out of hell. In the bloody dimension, the smell of death and the atmosphere of despondency are felt. Victoria still cannot dissuade his ally from his goal. Ardamon wants to eat this guy, even though the boss needs the king of demons. Even here, Chris did not lose his arrogance and continued to mock the opponent. Sometimes he signs his death sentence with his own actions. If he was silent, everything would be fine. And now he will have to meet with the bloody seal of Ardamon. In this case, even absolute protection is useless. Here all these tricks lose their meaning. It is absolutely impossible to use skills in the demonic world. When it seemed that death was inevitable, salvation came from the most unexpected side. Sharon was able to go outside and intervene in the fate of her beloved husband. Her aura confirms that she is also a queen of demons and does not just help human genius. Sharon and Ardamon had already met earlier. When 1,000 years ago she was a princess of the Empire, and this terrible monster cut out her whole family. Now she will not allow him to take the members of her family again. Now Chris can relax a bit and entrust his fate to his beloved woman. He used to love to flirt with other beauties. Now he will have to reconsider his views on life. At a critical moment, only Sharon protects him, confirming his devotion and love with real actions. Demonic battles always cause delight and surprise due to special effects and entourage. Victoria saw two high-level demons fight and decided not to intervene. For her, this is an extra risk that she is not going to accept. Chris feels like a man who can do nothing. It eats him from the inside. He cannot allow his wife to fight with a terrible monster alone. You need to somehow get out of these magic shackles. Suddenly, he managed to create a huge amount of energy. All this was done using the demonic structure of his body. Blood and soul burn, and at such moments there are truly amazing transformations. Ardamon did not pay attention to it at all and was already ready to cut his new victim. It is better for him to look around and work on his attentiveness. A knockout blow quickly forced this guy to let go of the beauty. Chris was reborn to the king of demons and finally reached true greatness. The wife could not believe that her beloved husband became so powerful. Now he easily challenges the Ardamon, who used to be afraid of all living and dead. Demons fight and counterclaims. Everyone is trying to work with the first number. The initiative moves from one hand to others. Now it's too difficult to choose a favorite. By that time, Chris had already finally lost touch with reality. This cannot continue. If it cannot be stopped, then all the energy will be exhausted, and he will die from exhaustion. His actions forced Ardamon to fight in full force, but is this enough to win? There is something more than fiery rage and a desire to win. Ardamon is still the strongest creature in this world and confirms this with his every action. With tears in the eyes of the demoness, asks his husband to calm down and put off revenge for the future. Chris is too difficult to accept the fact that he cannot protect himself and his love. He still wants to become a hero who does not know defeats. Sometimes even the most legendary of the heroes should go through failures. The defeat forms character and makes a legend out of a person. Thanks to his wife's arms, Chris gradually returned his former form. It became easier for him, spiritual energy did not have time to exhaust, and he is still alive. In the past, Sharon lost too many close people because of the battle with enemies. This time she cannot afford to make past mistakes again. That is why Chris should stay behind and give her the opportunity to prove herself. The demoness decided on a desperate step. She is ready to give her soul to take advantage of a deadly blow. Only stupid and crazy creatures are ready to give their soul for a person. You can relate to Sharon in different ways, but one cannot help but respect her choice. She just received special privileges and crazy power. Now it remains only to direct these opportunities in the right direction. All this time, Artemon paced here like a hunting dog around his house. He felt an aura of invincibility and did not understand that all the good ends sooner or later. Sharon produced such an important victory with her amazing abilities. Tears appeared before her eyes because of the unwillingness to part with his beloved. Until the last, she tried to be near and protect him, but their roads diverge in different directions. Chris must take care of himself and be sure to find a way to completely develop his potential in order to never be afraid of anyone. Everything happened too quickly, as if Thanos clicked his fingers and Sharon had turned into dust. After it, only the inner core remains. While her life is at least in the balance, Chris will not stop and will be non-stop to look for a way to return it to a normal life. By that time, Artemon had already managed to cut off half of his body. He is still alive and tries to get to the only available source of food. In the past, Victoria saved his life. Now it's time to repeat the story. She became food for a bloodthirsty monster, which despises conscience and guilt. The wounds were too serious, and now he has not yet restored his energy. Chris is obliged to take advantage of his chance, otherwise he will be destroyed. He wanted to take revenge and pull his heart out of this monster, but did not have time. Artemon flew high and escaped beyond the demonic world. The space of demons began to crumble. Now frightened masters can act. Brittany sat on her blue tiger and flew with lightning speed to save her beloved brother. Chris has already noticed that the space was punched from the inside, and you need to quickly get out of here. Soon this territory will turn into a glowing hell, and then it will be too late. Victoria took the form of a young girl after Artemon took her strength. Chris decided to save this demon and transfer it to a spiritual dimension. At that moment, young students from the Berserk team continued to believe that their captain would return from the other world. When the demonic sphere exploded, a man appeared among the flame. Brittany quickly reacted and grabbed it, as if an experienced eagle grabbed a small mouse in a wild field. Now her heart is calm. The feeling of comfort has returned to her soul again. Her brother is in critical condition. He must be returned to the academy quickly. His soul is divided into parts due to everything that happened to Sharon. Now his life gains even greater meaning. You need to not only become stronger, but in any way to return his love. 3 days passed after all these events. Chris quickly recovered and returned to a normal life. Now he trains as a damned and never stops. After returning, he seemed to become another person who craves progress. These are not all the changes that Chris and his family affected. Little Victoria now serves in his house and performs household duties. Now she behaves like a small child who does not know how. You need to be patient and teach it to all the wisdom of home life. Margot is clearly unhappy that another mistress appeared here. The same can be said about Victoria. She wanted to thank the savior and not turn into a slave. Chris now does not have time to think about home problems. He is focused on other purposes. He did everything possible so that his wife woke up. Unfortunately, this would not happen. During thoughts, Victoria appeared on the street, who brought breakfast to the owner. Chris decided to retire with this girl in order to seriously talk. He knows about her talents and asks to help in the situation with Sharon. Victoria is trying to explain that now it is impossible because of recent events. Artemon took too much of her energy as well as memories. Now she is nothing more than a little girl who has talent but has no possibilities. Chris decided to take her word for her. If he once finds out that she lied, his revenge will be merciless. After such words, Victoria needs to be extremely careful. She's now not in a position in order to feel comfortable next to the new owner. Recently, Chris is not like himself. He has really changed. Even a cheerful and perky fat man noticed that his friend had turned into a sad worm. He was not even delighted by the fact that he took first place in autumn tests. He used to seek to win, but now he was sad because of the loss of his beloved wife. At the weekend, he is going to track down one demon and brutally deal with him. This is not what young people usually do in their free time. While Chris dreams of a bloody reprisal, a swarm gathered in the demonic world. The Afterlife Abstract today meets one of its main representatives. Artemon returned to boss to report about everything that happened earlier. The boss said that he wants to capture the whole city along with the Sunlight Hunters Academy. The gentleman clearly prepares the invasion, perfectly realizing that the forces of the academy are constantly growing. Demons will begin to exterminate, so he is trying to act ahead of the lead. 10 years ago, the demons could not capture the world due to the stamina of Marcus. Now the hero is already dead, and no one will stop the monsters. Artemon will receive part of the troops if he copes with his task. Then the boss generously reward him. The portal in the city will soon open, and the advanced detachment will begin the offensive. Demons are not going to waste time. This means that people are waiting for a disaster. Only the most experienced warriors deep down are guessed about the approach of the storm. At the same time, training continues in the same rhythm, despite the last incident. Bella warned her students about the inevitable return of the demons, which should be prepared for. The next few weeks will be held hellish training, even more stringent than before autumn tests. Only Chris was not upset when he heard this news. Recently, he constantly meditates and does not pay attention to the turmoil. Around this guy there is too much spiritual power, which will sooner or later break out. He wants to become stronger for his wife, and for this he needs the help of the system. To do this, he is ready to arouse his hidden capabilities again. For a long time, Chris has cultivated power and now it can afford it. His inner king of demons woke up and he finally felt the merger of energy. Now progress has reached a completely new level. A person gave half the soul of a demonic essence. He can no longer be called an ordinary beginner. This guy is too good to underestimate him. He just broke through his level and increased to the rank B. Everyone around was shocked, feeling the presence of demonic energy. But this is an ordinary teenager who was no yesterday. His systemic characteristics have changed quickly. Chris felt better than ever. As a gift, he just received a military weapon of the highest rank. The demonic sword will perfectly complement the style of this guy. Now it will be even sharper, and even more dangerous. Bella congratulated her student on his access to a new level. She was proud to help him progress. They should not relax. The enemies are already very close and are waiting for the moment for their move. The demons gathered a powerful army and chose the perfect moment for the attack. Humanity has long lost its protagonist with the Dream Team. Over the years, people relaxed and thought that now they are ensured by security. It was a big mistake. All this time, the demons saved up forces in order to deliver another, more powerful blow. Now the moment of truth has come. The afterlife of the abyss has made its move. It is difficult to compare with the chess party. There will be no battle of intellects. The strongest will win. The one who goes to the end will not stop even despite fatigue. Over the years, the Academy has prepared many talented hunters. Now young people must take responsibility and forget about age. Peaceful citizens are waiting for support. So all the awakened must unite for the sake of a single goal. The demons threw their best representatives into the battle. There is no doubt that it will now be very hot here. The monsters know who Chris is and remind him of how they killed his father. Now they look like two naive fools who have no time to trample this land for long. Their demonic aura is simply ridiculous for the new version of Chris. He surpassed his past achievements and showed that he is now a completely different person. Internal motivation always pushes him forward to be a worthy son of the hero and save his wife. He will do everything to take revenge. He will go to the end, even despite the fear of death. This is the only way people become legends. Chris is ready to follow this path. While he is fighting with monsters, important events are also taking place in the hostel. A group of unknown young people gathered to fulfill an important assignment. For a long time, they walked around the district until they found the house in which Chris and his family live. The yellow choke enjoys life. Margot eats a delicious dessert, and Victoria gets used to slave life. Recently, it is even forced to do a massage for Charlie, although it does it well. A little mess reigns in the house, and it's fun to watch it. Very soon, a knock was heard at the door. This is hardly Chris. Usually he returns much later. The doors were opened without warning. The team of unknown guys asked the girls to be obedient and not make stupid things. Margot and Charlie do not understand at all that these clowns have forgotten here. Only Victoria guessed that in front of her are demons from the afterlife. She said that there is a yellow saint who would not allow demons to feel at home. At that moment, cute students turned into terrible creatures. The atmosphere has changed beyond recognition. There was nothing to breathe in the room. Margot has not seen such an abomination for a very long time. She immediately felt uneasy. The monsters took advantage of the chance and immediately began to attack from different sides. Victoria prepared for battle. Even in children's uniform, she can still repulse. One of the demons pointed a finger at Margot and said that this weak-minded girl needs to be taken first. It was a big mistake. Only a suicide borrower could call Margot a demented. Her gaze quickly showed everyone around that Victoria was not at all the main force here. We have been waiting for a long time when Margot would demonstrate his potential. It was clear that something powerful lies in it, and now this force has come out. The little bear, who was always next to her, turned into a terrible King Kong. This is not at all the bear that I would like to play in childhood. Against the background of this monster, demons turned into small and harmless insects. The bear quickly began to eat unexpected guests, as if he had been brought melted marshmallow. One of the monsters survived and saw how only the bones remained from his friends. He decided not to experience fate and immediately tried to leave the limits of the house. The demon must understand that it is already too late. The yellow choir will not let anyone out of there. The shape of the spiritual beast is too weak for a full-fledged battle. The time has come for radical changes. No one could even think that Charlie could take a human appearance. After the transformation, the yellow choir turned out to be a girl and asked to call herself Sandra. Just before our eyes, there was a change of floor. The 21st century does not cease to surprise. In any case, now it is much stronger and can show the demon who is the main one. Now the Yellow Choir is clearly a full-fledged member of the Chris team. Now you can return to the battle that occurs on the territory of the Academy. Passions boil here. Each movement can be the last. Chris discovered incredible skills and showed that he was no longer a child. The demons realized that it is better not to joke with this guy, and it is necessary to destroy him as quickly as possible. There may be problems with this due to martial arts skills. Now Chris not only remained true, he also received the same devilish sword that made him even sharper. It is nice to observe how demons who are not afraid of anyone are gradually losing self-confidence. Previously, they were too self-confident and arrogant. Now everything is different. Everything has changed when they met real force. Chris is not going to follow the rules, as if not in this battle. Elite demons were sent to destroy this guy. Artemon is absolutely convinced that this will be enough. More than 10 years have passed since the last battle, and these monsters still have no conclusions. In the past, they lost the battle due to poor preparation and unpreparedness to fight with human heroes. Now the story is repeated. People again surpassed all expectations. Chris took over the most difficult work and never regretted it. He coped well and gradually studied new skills. At the same time, no less strange events took place in his house. While the girls buried the corpses of monsters, the portals of the demonic world opened in the sky. Now there will be even more rivals that you have to figure out. By that time, the guardian of the academy, Old Gilbert, and deputy director Mr. Johnson had already arrived in the epicenter of events. They have enough experience to help humanity survive. Here you have to try. Demons have been accumulating forces for a long time for a decisive blow. It is in such battles that the experience comes to the fore. Old people still have skills in order not to concede young people. Bella and her team also cope with their duties. They cleaned the perimeter and finally deserved a little rest. Soon, Chris joined his friends after he killed 2 high-level demons. Once again, he surprised his comrades with his skills. Previously, you could only dream of a battle with such monsters. Now this is a reality. Bella congratulated her student and said that he would not stop there. There are no more demons in the district. Most likely they prepare the next blow. You need to be prepared for protection. And for this, you need to relax. Chris calmly returned home and became a witness to the terrible scene. Margot, Victoria, and another incomprehensible girl buried the corpses of monsters in the backyard. The younger sister was very glad to see her brother. All this time, she was madly worried. Margot calmly explained what happened here and asked her brother to treat this with understanding. After that, Sandra approached our hero and ordered him to help immediately. For a long time, he could not understand who she was and what she forgot in this house. I had to explain to this fool that in front of him is a yellow choir, whom he put on a chain. It will not be easy to get used to this. Sometimes life changes too quickly. It still smells very bad from the yellow ferret. It would be nice to wash this pig. Chris did not believe that the girl was in front of him and decided to check everything on his own. This dirty pervert put his hand under the t-shirt and became convinced that Korek Charlie was a girl. The modern world has long been used to this. Chris was not even surprised. During this time, Victoria was already used to the fact that the owner's house is too lively. Some incidents always happen here, and this is considered the norm. The demons failed to quickly capture the planet. At the same time, Artemon was not particularly upset. He realized the weaknesses of people and is now ready to act differently. His terrible night animals are now released from the cage. One of the bats bit the beauty who went to the nightclub. The girl lost consciousness and then awakened and turned into a monster. The next morning, the fat man immediately ran to his friend to communicate emergency news. Richie found a great opportunity to earn easy money. Last night, another breakthrough of demons took place. The night patrol involves the forces of the academy with a good reward. The Afterlife Abstract really decided to untie the war, and this is serious. Richie ran to gather and told Chris to do the same. They must hurry if they want to have time to fulfill important instructions. At home, our hero is stable. Nothing supernatural happened at night. Victoria is already used to a new life, but Sandra takes the first steps in human form. Leaving the girls alone is very scary, but the world has changed, and you need to match this. As soon as Chris went out the door, Margot immediately changed her appearance. She said that now it's time to go to the city and have some fun. I don't even know what this will lead to. The foreboding is clearly not good. There are many people in the city center today. Hunters are trying to defeat yesterday's incidents. There are many representatives of night patrols, mercenaries, and students from the academy. Diego reminded his comrade about the money that needs to be returned for a map of the area. Chris replied that now the main goal is the extermination of demons. The rest of the problems should be postponed for later. There is a strong demonic aura nearby. To do this, you do not need to be a master of night vision. Just look around. The people who were bitten turned into zombies. They are not demons, but you can't call them ordinary people. In no case should you give yourself to bite. Otherwise, even the strongest hunter will turn into a monster. The fat man quickly became the goal of a pervert who looked at him like a juicy bacon. An experienced Diego knows what to do in this case. For him, this is just another fight, where with his muscles he can attract beautiful women. Previously, there were no problems with this, but now this bodybuilder is already old. Now the fat men are in fashion. Muscles are no longer interested in anyone. Although no, I was still mistaken, the muscles are only interested in men, and this is true. Other hunters did not experience such problems and fought with all zombies at the same time. Only Chris stood aside and did not understand why zombies did not attack him. Apparently, there was an aura of a wife in him who scares the monsters, unlike ordinary people. Chris noticed that one of the zombies is very familiar to him. Looking closely, he noticed Lisa, who had vampire fangs. It turned out that it is enough to tear out the fangs, and the demonic aura disappears. Sometimes everyone is looking for a difficult solution to the problem when it is necessary to act as simple as possible. All team members immediately began to pull out fangs to people. This should help and reduce the number of victims. Artemon enjoys success and has no doubt that soon the whole city will become its puppet. He is sure that in this case, Chris will not have any chance of recovering a demonic attack. He decided to open the portal and see how the battle of hunters from the zombie is happening. Artemon for a long time could not believe that people learned to return zombies to a normal life. His perfect plan cracked at the very base. Chris constantly spoils the life of the demons. This guy should get rid of this. Artemon was ready to rush into battle, but his assistant asked him to give him a chance. Mario is a deputy commander of a demonic detachment. He had long been waiting for the opportunity to prove himself during the battle, and now his star hour has come. As soon as Mario received permission from the boss, he immediately went on a mission. By that time, the hunters had already cleaned the perimeter and celebrated a confident victory. Everyone around rejoiced, but Chris feels danger and calls in no case to relax. After a few moments, female screams and prayers for help came from the neighboring street. Hearing female voices, the fat man and Diego immediately lose their minds. These guys only pretend that they want to be heroes and do noble deeds. In fact, they are only driven by the desire to flirt and make new acquaintances. On the next street, women really found themselves in a difficult position. The mercenaries quickly arrived at the scene and prepared for the salvation of those in need. Diego and Richie looked especially interested. These perverts no longer hide their true intentions. They should slow down. These girls are not at all who they seem at first glance. Chris very quickly felt a demonic presence and ordered his friends to stop. At first, no one understood what was happening. Diego even began to think that he had a competitor. Everything changed when magic began to distort space and time. The jokes are over. Mercenaries behaved too carelessly and now they will pay expensive for it. Beautiful girls who called to the rescue turned out to be ordinary puppets. All this was started by Mario, the right hand of the general, a demonstration demon. He activated the world of dreams, and now each participant in the team will be in fictional reality. Charlie's fat man found himself at the table, lined with a myriad of delicacies. Beautiful virgins fluttered around him, offering to try various dishes. For a fat man, this is a real paradise. To overeat surrounded by charming beauties, can there be something better? He is ready to give his whole life for one such day. Now we will transfer to what is happening with other mercenaries. Diego and his closest associates have always adored their work. In the world of dreams, they became the largest guild of mercenaries throughout the country. Now they receive many tempting offers and earn fabulous money. Now let's take a look at Martin, who sees his perfect version of life. Earlier, there were hints that he is a pervert, experiencing feelings for his sister. Now this was confirmed. In his ideal world, he marries Margaret. Let us leave this pervert aside and look at the other team members. Each of them enjoys the moment and has a great time away from the academy. Probably Mario is clearly satisfied with what is happening. Like an experienced hunter, he caught his victim into the world of temptations and temptations. Now the time has come to look at the perfect version of the world from our main character. He opened his eyes at home and saw Shanron nearby. Everything is in order with his beloved woman. She is safe. Chris cannot be able to be in love with her beautiful figure and a charming face. He wants to constantly hug and kiss this woman, because he was madly bored. However, he should not forget that he is in the world of dreams and should make a choice again. He can stay in this world and live a happy 200 years. There are alternative options. It can destroy the world of dreams and disrupt the opponent's plans. For Chris, this was a very difficult choice. However, he acted like a man. He decided to destroy the world of dreams and embody his dreams into reality. Mario clearly did not expect this. Ordinary people are not able to destroy his illusions, which means that this guy is special. The illusion of each member of the team was automatically destroyed. Most of them were upset, especially Martin's pervert. They will have to return to reality and realize that the demon took their mind under control. This should not be repeated. You need to challenge the monster and make it suffer. Mario is one of the strongest warriors of the demonic legion. He was sure that he would win until he was faced with a real threat. Chris has long evolved and achieved unprecedented progress. Now it cannot be called easy prey. As soon as Mario understood this, he immediately decided to escape and activated the poisonous fog to distract the opponent. Everyone around began to choke and almost lost consciousness. Chris took control of the situation and stopped the poisonous attack. By that time, Mario had already managed to hide. Now it is not the main problem. It is much more important to stop the general of the demonic horde. Chris is going to find Artemon, tear his heart out of his chest and return his beloved soul. At that very moment, crazy girls travel to the city center. Victoria is not for the first time on the verge of life and death, and she is completely uncomfortable in the company of such madmen. Of course, none of them has the right. They just watched the film, furious, and decided to ride a car. Mario thought there was nothing more crazy about the world of demons, but he had never been so mistaken. He needs to run faster if he does not want to become a victim of a transport incident. Now on the road, there were several monsters robbing the nearest stores. They are happy because they earned light money, but their happiness will end soon. Crazy girls could not stop the car in time and shot down all 3 demons. Chris still did not see everything that happened and planned further actions. Mercenaries decided to completely destroy demonic creatures and cleanse the city from evil. Artemon did not even know how bad everything was. He enjoyed his life, being sure that his right hand had long completed dirty work. When he contacted Mario, his heart almost stopped. He could not believe that such an experienced soldier was beaten by a gang of people. Now the highest demon must definitely intervene in the process. So no longer can continue, people should be erased from the face of the earth today. By that time, Chris had already met his sister and her small team. They were very close to crushing several more people. Only a miracle helped them avoid death on the road. This miracle is Victoria. At the last moment, she pulled the girls out of the car, which was already ready to explode. Chris will have to have a very serious conversation with them. First, you need to solve the problem with demons, and then punish small hooligans. Something is always wrong with them. They simply cannot be left unattended. Diego asks his allies not to be distracted from the main problem. The demons prepared for battle and are ready to throw all their strength to this battle. Peaceful residents are trying to escape and ask for mercenaries for help. The Supreme Demon personally arrived here, who orders his legion to destroy everything in their path. Chris can count on serious support. Brittany and Bella is already here. They are ready for battle even with the devil himself. Last time, Artemon managed to escape from them. But today, they will not give him such an opportunity. This worm should pay dearly for everything that he made in the world of people. Of course, Artemon is not going to give up, so he called a giant monster to the aid. Girls should unite and break this giant worm into parts. They are simply obliged to erase this stupid smile from a terrible face. Brittany was already in such battles. It's so easy not to scare her. There is nothing to say about Bella. This woman is not just called a witch. She called her little monkey to the aid and turned her into a large monster. Now the red dragon will feel what real competition is. He will have to fight simultaneously with 2 powerful rivals. Perhaps it surpasses them in size, but the size does not always matter. At the same time, hunters and demon will also fight each other. They did not come here to look at animals. Each of them also knows how to use skills and demonstrate its level. Combining, the girls showed that they cannot be underestimated. A variety of skills, competent strategy, and maximum dedication gave them an instant advantage. Sooner or later, it was supposed to bear fruit. Girls are convinced that together they will be able to defeat this monster by applying combined attacks. By that time, the situation on Earth also improved. The monster's legion was completely cleaned. Small children helped in this battle. All this time, they were too underestimated. In the future, they can be used for different purposes, although even now they can already become full-fledged team members. Portals from the demonic world are constantly opening in the sky. Demons come again and again. We have to fight, despite crazy fatigue. Margot can become very useful in such a battle, thanks to its skills. Let's not forget that her teddy bear, if desired, turns into a terrible monster. With such support, even experienced mercenaries will feel much more confident and cheerful. Gradually, Victoria also arouses her talents, which she lost after the loss of the main body. All this goes well with a person who has long reached a new level and became the king of demons. With such forces, humanity can be sure that their planet is not threatened with total extinction. Chris still has not absorbed 2 spiritual Jasper, which can reveal many of his hidden talents. He decided to take advantage of this force to arouse hidden opportunities in himself before the most important test. The monster is becoming more and more. Now you need to show maximum exposure and dedication. Sooner or later, the demons will end. They will not be able to always stay from the other world. Chris activated new skills, but even this will not be enough to stop the entire army of demons. The mercenaries invited their partner to immediately run. You need to retreat and think of how to cope with such a huge force. Chris is in no hurry to leave the battlefield. It seems that this guy again conceived some inadequate act. The system offers him another choice: to pull the time before the help of the help, to escape with his comrades, or to fight back and break the army of demons. The third option offers too many advantages. In addition, the escape from the battlefield will only aggravate the situation. Chris has always been considered an inadequate person with an abnormal amount of testosterone. Even his friends did not expect this fool to dare to challenge the 1,000th army of demons. He decided not to retreat, show all his magic, and show that he is now the king of this world. He just took advantage of the technique of a thunderous blow to eliminate the whole threat with one wave. For many years, demons were preparing to seize the planet Earth and make people with their slaves. All their work was destroyed in 1 second. The most amazing thing is that all this was done by one person. A lot of fire, smoke, and smell of burned bodies appeared around. This can be called the monster's genocide. Just the whole army of demons has been completely destroyed. Now it's time to take revenge on the chief general of evil forces. Chris did not forget about his task. He must find Artemon, kill him, and return his beloved Sharon to the world of the living. Now Artemon is already busy with the battle. It is not easy for him to defend himself and maintain a distance in the battle against experienced warriors. Bella and Brittany perfectly combine their skills and together create an unprecedented threat to the demon. Now this guy does not even have time to smile. At heart, he dreams of escaping and again in a cozy nest. Brittany is not just considered one of the most talented warriors of the country. Its attacks using lightning are considered as cruel as possible. It is impossible to escape from such a force. You have to take damage. Even General Demon can do nothing about it. He was even more angry and activated the fusion of the Bloody Dragon through transformation. He just absorbed the monster and gained a new form, capable of repulsing even the most outstanding warriors. At first, the girls did not understand what happened. They thought that the opponent was destroyed, and the battle was won. Then the fog was scattered, and it became clear that now difficult times would come for them. Artemon increased all the protective characteristics and brought the attacking potential to a new level. His armor is now not piercing with ordinary lightning, and it will become almost impossible to defend from its blows. It increased in size and has become a full-fledged giant with a lot of possibilities. Although Brittany and Bella are considered incredible talents, together they will not be able to cope with this thug. The situation quickly worsened. The destruction of the girls remained a matter of time. Chris came to the rescue in time and saved 2 beauties from the imminent fate. He acted as a hero from the films and added a little an aura of invincibility to this story. In addition, he came here not one. Supporting friends is now incredibly important. They will be able to very quickly restore the health of Bella and Brittany and return them to a combat state. Artemon was very upset when he realized that he was prevented from trying the taste of these sweet girls. He should understand that Chris is his real rival, and it is with him that he will fight. For a long time, Chris increased his skills to be at this point. He reached a completely new level, and now the time has come either to become a hero like his father, or go to the dead. Chris can always escape with friends, but this is not interested in him little. He wants to take revenge on his beloved wife, kill this vile scum, and stop a demonic invasion. The inhabitants of this planet earned a calm existence. For this, Chris is ready to go to everything. He activated the demonic form and again turned into a man who sold his soul to the devil. His friends were not ready to see such power. After that, Chris can officially become a teacher at the academy, even though he is just a freshman. This guy does not know in the battle in battles and will now beat before losing the pulse. To begin with, he will have to adapt to the opponent and come up with a plan. Thieving attacks here will not work. He has the opportunity to study Artemon thanks to the support of his friends. They will distract the attention of the monster and take the main fire on themselves. At the same time, Chris will be able to find a weak point in the opponent and deliver a point and lightning stroke. Watching such battles, you always feel frost on the skin and an accelerated heartbeat. People are united to defend their right to exist. This always causes a storm of emotions. Even young children do not stand aloof. Everyone is ready to take risks and go forward in order to at least somehow attach to success. This does not mean that people will automatically win. Of course, do not underestimate the demon who absorbed the spirit of the dragon. It will be a long battle with many losses, successes, and failures. Only after such a way can you come to the top. In any case, everything boils down to Chris, who is the main person of this story. In his body is impeccable potential. Not without reason he is called the King of Demons. If he still can deliver the same crushing blow, then no opponent can withstand pressure. Chris will never kneel before the terrible creature from the abyss. For the sake of his beloved wife, he is ready for desperate deeds and incredible cruelty. Today, Artemon should die, whether he likes it or not. In the last seconds of life, General Demon for the first time in a long time felt the fear of death. He felt the forces leave his body. There was a giant explosion. A bloody aura was dispelled throughout the city. The hunters felt relieved. They really won, did what was considered impossible, and surpassed all the expectations. This is an absolutely deserved victory. And now Chris can be content with the jade soul of the ghost of the Bloody Knight. With the help of this core, he must save his wife and fulfill his main goal. Everyone around congratulates each other and especially pay tribute to the King of Demons, who inflicted the final blow. While such heroes exist on this earth, civilians can sleep peacefully. Chris really repeated the exploits of his father. He reflected the invasion of the demons and survived, despite the insane power of the opponent. Now he can get a well-deserved reward and return his beloved beauty to life. After that, they will be able to conduct joint cultivation all night and enjoy life. After a brilliant victory over the demons, several days passed. The fun is over. Now the very moment came that Chris has been waiting for so long. After cleansing, the nephritis of the soul of bloody blood must fulfill its purpose. The soul of Sharon is ready to wake up from eternal sleep and return to the world of the living. It seems that everything turned out. Chris felt incredible joy and felt another breath of life in his heart. His beauty began the process of awakening and restoring the original characteristics. It once seemed impossible, but now it has become a reality. Chris was absolutely right when he refused to stay in the world of dreams. He returned to Earth and created his own ideal reality. In this reality, you cannot do without a beauty Sharon who falls into his arms with tears in his eyes. They are finally together, despite all the obstacles, despite all the enemies who so much wanted to separate them. Love is stronger than testing. Chris and Sharon have just proved it with his actions and actions. Now the time has come a little joint cultivation. Unfortunately, they will not show us this. I can't wait to see the face of the main demon after he learns about the defeat of his legions. The battle completely failed, and the boss had just been informed that Artemon was dead. The monster who brought bad news was instantly destroyed because of the anger of his king. Now the boss is in no hurry to increase his troops and continue to attack the city. He has other plans. Although the operation failed, battles in other cities were won, which allowed to significantly expand the territory. First, the boss is going to stabilize the occupied territories and then conduct further attacks. This monster will still show its true face, and then humanity will face an unprecedented threat. The world of demons will never abandon attempts to conquer humanity and make their slaves out of people. Hunters should prepare for this, even if today it seems that the world is in complete safety. Victoria prepared a delicious breakfast for her owner, and Margot grabbed him to personally take her brother. She wanted to please her beloved brother, but when she opened the door of his room, she immediately forgot about everything in the world. She was not ready to see here some incomprehensible demon in Chris's arms. Margot is the only one who knows nothing about the demoness. No one told her about it. Now you need to conduct serious conversations and explain to the baby that adults sometimes should be alone. A few minutes later, Margot already knew the whole backstory. It was difficult for her to perceive everything that she had just heard. The baby almost fainted, Chris explained. He doesn't care that Sharon is a demoness. He will still love her. The wife was happy that she was introduced to the family, and now she could not hide. She immediately rushed into the arms of her husband and could not get enough of her happiness. Then, a strange incident occurred. Sharon felt a slight malaise. Her head was spinning, and she almost lost consciousness. The demoness said that she was just tired, but Victoria immediately realized that her soul was too badly damaged. Even after the recovery, Sharon will be weak. It is better to return it to the spiritual world, until nothing bad happened. The previous battle took a lot of effort. Now, even after the absorption of Jade, additional energy is needed. Previously, Sharon was already faced with the destruction of the spiritual world. Now the situation has aggravated. Even 10 Jade will not help revive her soul. Hope is only to change the shape of the body. Chris is ready to do absolutely anything for the sake of his beloved woman. There is already one thing in the world that can change the shape of the body. This artifact is called a Sage Stone. An ancient treasure is able to endow its owner with divine force. During the battle between ghosts and monsters, this stone was divided into 9 parts. Now all these parts are scattered around the world. Their owners have become powerful ghosts who are in no hurry to part with the relic. For the sake of his wife, Chris will take a chance and go to the ends of the world to pick up a sage stone from the ghosts. The next day, it was time to analyze everything that happened. The situation was close to critical, and many people suffered due to the invasion of monsters. At the same time, among people there were heroes who managed to recapture the attack and defend the city. Such heroes were the young students of the academy, who recently graduated from a high school. For their achievements, they will receive a solid reward. Also now they have turned into a favorite of the public, and they will constantly ask for an autograph. Not everyone was lucky to get to the stars. This is the privilege of only the best warriors. Teachers hope that young masters will help them fight the demons in the future. Already Chris is offering various missions around the world, and he is ready for this. Under the guise of completing the task, this guy is going to find a ghost and take away the sage of the sage from him to help his wife. When he returned after the award, he found out that his sister also succeeded. She hit the educational class for minors thanks to her hidden talents. Now she wants to constantly spend time with her brother and go to different missions with him. Margot has to explain that she is too small for a similar level of threats. Chris packed his things and went on a new task. He cannot live a day without adventure. According to refugees, the neighboring city occupied the ghost of the void, which enslaves people. Together with his friends, Chris intends to go to the very center of events and correct the situation. Locals are happy that they did not abandon them, and at least somehow try to help. They have a very small city. All the hunters have long left, and now there is no one to fight the ghost. According to rumors, the ghost works on one of the 8 kings. He definitely must know at least something about the stamp of the sage. Many ordinary residents were trapped or mercilessly killed. A few days ago, one of the inhabitants lost his wife and daughter. He still does not know what happened to them. There is an absolute madness that needs to be completed. Although young hunters will act here, but after the last events, they already have enough experience to challenge the ghost. Strange sounds were heard very soon. The minions of the ghost of the void came here. At first glance, these are ordinary people, bikers who are used to breaking the law. They love to find a beautiful girl and spend a good evening in the company of alcohol. These bikers work for a ghost and kill people by order. As we have already guessed, they fan from beautiful girls in short skirts. As soon as they see such beauties, they immediately turn into monkeys. Such tricks will not pass with these girls. Mary and Catherine quickly put the hooligans in place. Chris also did not stand aside and decided to use invincible eggs. Sometimes he uses 2 strange methods. Probably therefore he was called a madman. After a distracting maneuver, it's time to strike a deadly blow. Chris wanted to be in the foreground again, but the girls were ahead of him. Bikers very quickly regretted that they arrived here without reinforcement. Evil women completed men's work and once again showed their skills. Locals once again warned the hunters that the ghost of the void could be much stronger than they believe. Chris did not pay attention to all these tales at all. He, as always, is full of enthusiasm. The system offered him several options: to directly attack the headquarters of the ghost, leave the city with the townspeople, and something else. You can change into women in order to suddenly attack the ghost. Chris was sure that no one would want to dress in women until he looked at his friends. An ideal plan immediately arose in his head, and he held small negotiations with his comrades. Particularly impressive people should immediately move away from the screen. Chris, the fat man, and John now look a little different. They seem to go to Thailand and were imbued with local culture. Perhaps they consider themselves stunning, but for other men it is a miserable sight. Chris tirelessly repeats that all this is needed only for the plan, although I do not believe him at all. In any case, this technique works. Demons like similar girls. The hunter team pretended to come to please the king of ghosts. The demons never saw such chic women and immediately opened all the doors in front of them. These monsters have a very specific taste. Now it is clear why they did not immediately kill real beauties. When Chris saw the ghost of the void, he was even a little upset. He expected something more, some huge monster, and as a result he saw a thin goat. The beauties immediately began to demonstrate their advantages and took possession of the heart of the monster. A few hours later, it's time to play role-playing games and make the goat suffer a little. Lovely ladies promised to serve their client at the highest level and at the same time laughed angrily. After a few seconds, they divided, and it became clear that Thai women are ordinary men. The demon has very specific tastes, but even he was not ready for this. He began to scream and call these men perverts. This guy still thinks that they came to play very adult games with him. All this time, the goat could use the teleport and only waited for a convenient moment. As soon as he felt the maximum threat, he immediately opened the portal and disappeared into the unknown. He cannot just change the planet, only a slight change in geolocation is available to him. The demon decided to challenge his rivals and demonstrate the skills of a successful battle. For such a guy as Chris, this is just a light warm. Up, it's okay. He began to kick the goat with the fat man, as if they were participating in beach football competitions. It was funny to watch this. A serious mission turned into a circus. Chris did not even forget about his invincible eggs, which came in handy during fun. This continued for a long few hours that the demon will remember for his whole life. In the end, he hid in a corner and begged to let him go. For this, he is ready for anything. Ghost can be released, destroyed, or defeated and used for their own purposes. Chris asked a few questions and found out that the boss has a red sword that contains a fragment of the Sage Stone. This sword was received in the War of Ghosts, and now the boss values it very much. Chris thanked the ghost that he shared such information with him. After that, he took out his weapons and said that he would try to make his life easier. Usually, in order to make life easier, you do not need a sharp sword that is endowed with mana. The ghost realized that he was waiting for a terrible fate. Unfortunately, it was too late to react. Our hero raised his characteristics thanks to the performance of the next task. Very soon, the locals finally sighed calmly. Their relatives and children returned home after a long captivity. The city is cleaned of ghosts. Now they cannot worry about anything. Chris, along with his team, said goodbye to the locals and went back home. The fat man began to ask his friend questions, trying to understand why he had a sage stone. Chris decided to cheat and said that the stone would help call the dragon who fulfills desires. He does not want to talk about his demoness. And this is his personal choice. Strange sounds were heard in the forest. Some little animal tried to avoid death. Mysterious people in masks did everything to catch up with him. This is just a small white fox. Why is she so much interested in forest residents? This animal can be saved or not interfere with the process. Chris should make a choice again. The system constantly gives him tasks for which the reward follows. This animal has a strange aura. The fox resembles Sharon, and therefore Chris wants to save him. The young genius quickly showed his strength and freed the fox from the persecution. He offers to take him to his team to make a talisman sent by heaven. A little later, the hunters stopped in a quiet clearing to spend the night. Many of them still do not understand who exactly this little fox was saved from. People in masks are called ghost hunters. These are ordinary cannibals that live in groups in the wild. These hunters are masters of silent murders, and very soon the missing cannibals will begin to search. After everyone went to bed, the fat man was the first to stay on the night patrol. A few hours later, he also began to fall asleep until he felt a threat. Richie shouted loudly and woke up his entire team. He managed to find enemies in time. Around the tent was a whole team of cannibals which came here to take revenge. You will have to prepare for battle and fight so that the small fox remains alive. Cannibals came here not alone. Behind them is the main ghost of the void, which was never caught. Only his messengers were killed in the city, but not the main boss. Now young hunters should prepare a terrible storm. You will have to fight and act like a real team, otherwise you can't survive here. In addition, the monster is not alone. His army of cannibal does everything to distract the hunters. Chris began to fight against the main monster and showed him that people could also be powerful. Now he needs to extract the abilities of ghostly jade and activate spiritual coercion. This will help transform skills into physical aura and fight at full power. The ghost first met a person who can compensate for his skills. Now we will witness the next battle between evil and good. Chris acted as aggressively as possible and constantly went forward. After the last battles, he no longer feels a threat and does not worry at all during the battles. His actions are honed to the ideal, which is why he won a confident victory so quickly. Now it is much easier for him to fight with middle-level rivals due to the fact that his skills are constantly progressing. By that time, the rest of the team also cleaned the perimeter. They killed cannibals and received several valuable nephrites. There are definitely still cannibals with ghosts nearby. Somewhere here their settlement is located. The fat man offers to completely eradicate evil from this forest. The little fox turned out to be very smart and said that he could help find the location of enemies. Chris guessed that he had to follow this animal and convinced his team to follow the Lysink. Closer to morning, absolutely all terrible creatures of this forest were completely destroyed. People who were considered long dead are now liberated and can return to normal life. They got here from a neighboring city after a surge of the ghosts of the Red Sword occurred. Ghosts forced them to turn into slaves and fulfill all instructions. Chris and his team saved many lives and deserve another portion of praise. During the conversation, it became known that behind all this is a ghost of a red sword. It was he who has a fragment of a sage stone, so now he has become the main goal of our hero. Its strength should be comparable to the power of a bloody knight. To win, you have to show the maximum possibilities. For the sake of his beloved woman, Chris is ready to do anything. Sometimes he completely forgets that she is just a shadow that no one sees. Because of this, he is often called a mentally retarded captain. The hunter team listened to the advice of the villagers and went to the city of Lifing. It was there that the last time they saw the ghost of the Red Sword, which has an overwhelming aura. The hunters were preparing to meet with the monster and did not expect a battle with a man. A mysterious girl with different eyes appeared in front of them. Her name is Cindy. She did not come alone, behind her team, who considers these young hunters the bandits who came to rob the city. There was a misunderstanding. No one is in a hurry to increase the level of awareness in order to resolve the conflict. The fools began to fight with each other, and Cindy quickly showed their skills. It turns out that she knows how to stop time. This is a very unusual technique that little is known about. Only with the help of a crazy aura, Chris managed to break out of the arms of temporary chains. Then he quickly approached Cindy and showed that he should also be respected. Then, another talented hunter finally intervened in business, who asked everyone to exhale and calm down. Dwayne just caught a wild boar and invites friends to smooth out this misunderstanding with a delicious dinner. He explained that Cindy is a student of the Lifing Academy. He accidentally met her during a battle with ghosts. The fat man has long fallen in love with this beauty and asks his friend to remove his hands from this deity. Everyone immediately calmed down and decided to arrange a camp nearby in order to dinner deliciously. Cindy quickly talked about the situation in the city and explained what to be afraid of. The ghost of the Red Sword ruled the city for a long time, but did not destroy all the inhabitants. Instead, he allowed other ghosts to enslave people and work for him. The ghost of the Red Sword does this intentionally. It becomes stronger, absorbing negative human energy. It will be much more difficult to deal with this ghost than with previous rivals. People tried to resist, but the problem is that the Red Sword eats negative energy and becomes only stronger because of any riot. Only by completely crushing the ghosts, you can solve the problem. The red sword lives on a ghost ship over the city and releases negative energy through dark towers. Recently, he swallowed too much energy and is temporarily going to retreat. This is a great chance for the attack. It is necessary to destroy the dark towers one after another, and then the monster will be left without a fuel. Hunters should restore justice in this world, kill ghosts, and save innocent people. Cindy and her whole team are ready to help. Together, they form a fist of death that can stop the enemy. After a short rest and operation planning, the 10th day has come. The hunters carefully advance to the city center to conduct reconnaissance. It is necessary to act as carefully as possible. Any oversight can disrupt the special operation. In the city, there is an oppressive atmosphere of despondency around a soul. Chris and Cindy witnessed a terrible sight. Demons now behave just like people. They gain small children in order to turn them into monsters and teach murders. Children absorb a dark aura and gradually become slaves of evil forces. Now there is no time for this. It is necessary to fulfill the plan and advance to the dispatch. In the northern district, Fatiak and John fulfilled their part of obligations. They witnessed an even more terrible scene. The locals have completely lost their minds. Everyone around shouted and torn their hair as if these people ran out of a psychiatric hospital. Each of them has ordinary human problems, but the reaction is completely inadequate. Richie and John did not know what to do. They were covered by fear of infecting this crazy disease. Now let's take a look at the southern area of the city. The mystery reigns here. People are forced to work, promising in return only ghostly prospects. Each of them has its own deep motivation. Someone for the sake of marriage dreams of buying a house and happy his wife. Someone desperately tries to cure children or accumulate for a comfortable old age. All this, as in other areas of the city, gives rise to only negative emotions. Chris had already managed to get into the dispatch and knock out several monsters with his flaming fist. Recently, he has reached such progress that now ordinary demons for him are like light fun. Cindy does not even intervene in this process, watching in surprise, watching the power of his partner. The system offers: destroy the Dark Tower, refuse to capture, or begin to control this terrible fortress. Cindy offers to help in the management of the Dark Tower, claiming that he understands this case. Since childhood, this girl has learned to control the technique and now knows how to configure the frequency of negative energy so that the ghosts can also feel mental torture. They must feel all the horror of the suffering on which they encourage the inhabitants of the city. Now it is worth moving to the same ship called a Flying Dutchman. Here is the same sword that contains the aura of the main ghost of this city. The sword just found out that the 3 towers were captured by unknown hunters. The ghost of Red Flame is practiced alone. Now it is impossible to report bad news. The swordsman decided to entrust this task to his 2 assistants so that they correct past mistakes. The dragon and phoenix are ready to fulfill any order. They love to arrange chaos and ruin the world of people. Watching them from the side, it seems that these are just children, but in no case can you succumb to these illusions. So far, Cindy and Chris are not even aware of what awaits them. They complete the preparations and adjust negative energy. Cindy did everything correctly, and now Chris automatically received a reward for subordinating the Dark Tower. The signals began to spread throughout the city, and the situation has changed quickly. Ordinary residents felt much better and stopped playing dirty games. With demons, the opposite is true. They felt pain and began to swim in the negative energy of their mind. For people, it was like insight, like a long dream filled with horrors, finally ended. Now people rebelled against their enemies and decided to show them who leads this city. People rebelled. It immediately noticed a phoenix and a dragon, which arrived to fulfill an important assignment. Chris quickly drew attention to these monsters and was glad that the rivals were too weak. He called them small larvae, which will now help him get a little point of experience. These guys have not even had time to go down, and the King of Demons had already managed to activate a fiery fist. The monsters were not at all scared. They withstood the blow and promised to turn a miserable person into dust. From the outside, it is too funny. Even funny to watch the monsters provoke hunters. Usually any demon brings horror with its presence, but today everything is different. Looking at these 2 worms, I want to laugh, but they know how to turn into a more dangerous creature. This is what happens when you underestimate the opponent. The situation quickly gets out of control. After the merger, small monsters reach an average level and can be a serious threat. If Sharon had not come to the rescue in time, then her husband would have turned into a flattened cake. Now he will have to use the water of life to cope with the enemy. This attribute transforms spiritual power into liquid, strengthens the body, and increases ki energy. Chris behaved like a real gentleman and shared the water of life with his partner. The demon did not understand what was happening. It seemed to him that people did not respect him so much that they allowed themselves to drink beer before the battle. Each participant in the battle received an advantage. This applies not only to demons. Chris, along with Cindy, felt the energy spread throughout the body. Now even such a terrible demon does not scare at all. It is enough to choose a competent strategy and not relax during the battle. Chris has enough experience to quickly take possession of control over the city. He just called magic to his aid and took out the same sword that monsters are so afraid of. He felt an aura of invincibility and began to attack without looking at defense. Sometimes such a strategy leads to terrible consequences. After the miss, he felt mortal breathing near his back. Now this guy can turn into a monster beefter if Cindy does not react in time. She didn't just get the water of life, she will have to use the time stop to help her partner. This skill may seem underestimated, only experienced hunters understand that Cindy has incredible talent. The time stops is enough for Chris to intercept the initiative and receive a chance to strike a mortal blow. He tried to pierce the opponent's body with a sharp sword, and as a result he felt like a sword hit a stone. The monster turned out to be much stronger than all other demons. It is immediately clear that this is an alloy of two creatures. In this case, the demon receives double power and opportunities, and it is twice as difficult to win. The sword almost broke during the battle. It is clearly not to do without the support of his wife. An experienced demoness gave some tips and sent Chris in the right direction. The fox for a long time watched the battles and now also decided to take part in this. The little beast knows how to charm. Now the body of the demon does not obey his mind. For Chris, this is a great opportunity to use tips and hit in a weak place. A huge demon said goodbye to his armor. Now his protection can be penetrated even by a child's hand. Cindy also did not miss. She went from behind and inflicted a vile but pointed blow in the back. All past injuries made themselves felt very quickly, and the demon felt incredible pain in every millimeter of his body. He tried to stop his opponents, but it was agony, who just won him for several seconds of life. Ultimately, the monster was destroyed and lost 2 pieces of his jade soul. Cindy and Chris worked as if they were fighting together all their lives. This is probably why Chris decided to divide the award into 2 and thank Cindy for his support. Now Sharon will carefully monitor this girl. This woman is very jealous. The fat man and the company also did not sit back. They killed many monsters in different parts of the city and returned to the captain. Now you can celebrate the victory and drink a little water of life. The fat man was upset when he was told that it was not Coca-Cola. He hates drinking liquid without a large sugar content. Everything changed as soon as he tried this drink. Energy quickly saturated the body of each hunter. Now all of them have become much stronger, as if they received spiritual power from the center of the earth. Very soon a bloody sword found out what happened in the city. He ordered to send an additional group there and bring him the heads of the hunters who challenged him. For this, he will not have to wait. The hunters are already heading for the Flying Dutchman. Richie called a fat dragon to the rescue who for the first time in his life took off so far. Probably, he was also given a little water in life so that he managed to develop his potential. Now you need to destroy everything here and prevent these creatures to control civilians. Dwayne has long been waiting for the opportunity to show his attack of 1,000 troops. He learned this from the legendary Master Shaolin. Other hunters also have something to boast. Each of them has their own special aura. Past heroes can be calm. Now a new generation of legends has appeared on planet Earth. Despite their youth, they show the best human qualities and save the lives of millions of people. 15 minutes later, the strip was completed. All the monsters of the low and medium rank were torn to pieces. This does not mean that you can relax. The blood sword is still here. The sword wants to kill all the invaders, and for this he calls for the aura of death. With the help of a stone of wisdom, the sword gains incredible power. It is necessary to act as carefully as possible. Even a minimal wound can lead to infection and death. All this time, the sword pretended to be a wimp who just gives orders. When the time has come, this strange artifact began to call ghosts to his aid. All the dead demons lost their souls and rebelled to take revenge. It looks scary, but not enough to stop hunters who are only interested in victory. The next wave of the battle began. The sword immediately chose the main opponent. While the ghosts distract other hunters, Chris is easy prey. Now he will have to meet face-to-face with the shadow combo skill. He read about this technique in ancient scriptures because this is one of the most powerful demonic skills. It is very difficult to counterattack. You have to defend yourself and constantly wait for the moment. Only when the entire puzzle is perfect, it will be possible to deliver a point blow. Chris took advantage of the absolute protection to reach the near distance. Then he asked the system, the ghostly Jade Hunter of the Emptiness, which he went after the past battle. This opened the skill of teleportation for our hero. Now getting to the near distance is not at all a problem. Chris ate all the tricks of his opponent and tried to inflict a deadly thunder of thunder. His magic was so strong that even a demonic sword could not withstand pressure. Ultimately, he received a fragment of a sage stone for which he started all this journey. With the help of this stone, he is going to give his wife enough energy so that she feels comfortable in the human world. All ghosts on the Flying Dutch automatically disappeared. Now Sharon must absorb the strength of the fragment and regain his former greatness. Once this demoness forced other monsters to be afraid and knelt before her force. These times should return thanks to the fragment of the wisdom stone that she had just absorbed. Now her soul has completely returned to the usual state, and no one should interfere with these lover. Chris was going to calmly return home and arrange a honeymoon, but he again made the same mistake. He just defeated the ghost sword, but the owner of this sword was all the time in training. Now he returned to the Flying Dutchman and forced all the hunters to freeze in anticipation of death. This demon does not like when miserable little people attack his base. For this he will punish, very brutally punish. The demon looked around and saw a huge number of murdered monsters. There was an awkward situation. It will be difficult for this guy to explain what happened here. The boss was very angry and immediately called a Red Death Sword to his aid. The problem is that the Red Death Sword has just been destroyed. They can no longer be used. The boss has been in training for too long and did not show interest in his base at all. He promised to punish the hunter who destroyed his favorite weapon. The warrior team quickly prepared for battle. They just passed a difficult test and are now not afraid of anything. Chris is sure that without a sword, the power of the ghost should be much lower. His abilities are similar to the skill of Bloody Knight. In theory, everything is so, only when practice begins, everything always goes not according to plan. The demon called the Kingdom of 10 Swords, and an unknown portal was opened in the sky. This portal can be compared with unsteady sands that suck their victim into the abyss. Hunters who recently were confident in their victory were in a hopeless situation. Now they are in the world of demons, and you will need to make great efforts to get out of here alive. This planet is called the Sphere of Red Sword. Pain and anger are concentrated here. Here is the ideal world of negative energy, which helps to collect thousands of grievances in the Murder Sword. The demon created his new weapon and is now eager to see fear in the eyes of the opponent. Chris is again faced with a choice. He can give up, kill the ghost, or just run away without looking back. It is impossible to retreat. It remains to choose the second option and fight, no matter what. Chris accepts the call. He can afford it because faithful friends are nearby. Together, they can create an unprecedented force that a bloody demon has never encountered. Richie immediately called a Tolstoy dragon to the rescue, who had just been reinforced by nuggets from McDonald's. Let's not forget about the skills of a small fox and charming Cindy. Time stop, and the mental attack should at least somehow act on this terrible monster. After that, it will be necessary to apply physical impact using close combat attacks. Chris and his friends fought as the gladiators of ancient Rome. They forgot about the fear of death, walked only forward and did not look around. Watching this battle, there is pride in the young generation of hunters. They were not afraid to challenge death and refused to run like a rat driven into the corner. In this territory, the soul was discovered in this territory, and the system invites the owner to absorb this force. Using the absorption of the Dragon Jade, you can get a passive skill, a force that ignores the opponent's attack. Chris constantly reveals new opportunities for himself. This is how he has the chances of victory. Such a force can destroy not only the opponent's sword but also himself. The United Army of Hunters is in no way inferior to the Avengers. Together they create such a serious pressure that even an ally of the devil is forced to retreat. The atmosphere is electrified to the limit. The moment of truth is approaching. Chris is already used to applying the final blows. Now he will do it with his love. The demon tried his best to counterattack. It was like a cry of despair. The demoness returned its spiritual body and helped Chris preserve the balance of power. Together they were able to create impenetrable pressure. The monster immediately realized that he was the end. To run was too late. The demon accepted his death, and Chris quickly received a reward in the form of the Soul of Jade. He completed his task and received the technique of calling ghosts along with an increase in abilities. The next victory of hunters in a short period of time. They again surpassed all expectations. Now you need to quickly return from the world of demons, which is about to collapse. Fortunately, there is a thick dragon nearby which will be happy to return to the ground to have lunch quickly. After a difficult battle in the city of Lifing, the world finally reigned. People gradually restored houses and ennobled the city. Residents returned to a normal life and forgot what happened, like a terrible dream. The mission is over and now the paths of two teams diverge. Cindy was an excellent ally, and without her, this victory would be impossible. She could not believe that this brave guy would be so strong. Now she promises to remember him for her whole life. Cindy needs to be careful with the words, otherwise the demoness will cut her tongue. The fat man was also upset. He fell in love with the Queen of Time and now does not want to part with her. He had no chance at all, although he was sure that they were almost married. Chris wished his friend good luck and said that in the future they will certainly meet again. Now he needs to explain to a fat guy why he hugged his love. In a cheerful mood, the hunters hasten to return home and report to everything that happened. By that time, Margot has already begun to study at school. She constantly thought about her brother, and for the first time in a long time was too thoughtful. For almost a month, she did not see her beloved brother, and this left a serious imprint on her. Margot has become more angry and hot-tempered. Now it is even more difficult to communicate with her. The Academy of Hunters and the school are in the same building. Here, everyone knows who Chris is. Despite this, high school students still create problems for the hero's friends. There will always be arrogant guys who will spoil everyone's mood. This is a great opportunity for a yellow ferret that wants to earn respect. Everyone considers Sandra an ordinary mutant that should not be paid attention to. This is a big mistake. The power of the yellow ferret is too often underestimated. Sandra easily dealt with hooligans and earned a little pocket money. After that, it became known that Chris finally returned after the mission. All students of the academy and primary school gathered to greet heroes. For them, this team is much larger than ordinary Sunlight students. Legends have already compiled about Chris and his friends. They look at them like the gods who went down from heaven. Girls of different ages are ready to do anything just to get closer to their idols. The fat man is especially interested in this, but they rarely pay attention to him. Soon Margot ran out into the street and immediately turned into a kind and funny girl. There was no trace of her anger, the fault of the brother who returned from the trip. Now she will have to explain that another resident will appear in their house. A small fox. Sandra was most delighted, who had long dreamed of having a friend. Now she personally will engage in the upbringing of a fox, and promises to make it a killer monster. There is no doubt that it will now be even more fun to follow this house. Very soon, the whole family gathered to congratulate Chris on the end of the mission. He achieved another success and happily divided it with loved ones. Probably. He can't wait to say goodbye to everyone and go to his room. The King of Demons has long dreamed of conducting a joint cultivation with his wife. At the table, Chris received an unexpected message. Bella invited him to meet and seriously talk. From such a woman, you never know what to expect. She will always find a non-standard approach to any person. Chris studied at the academy only one semester and already achieved outstanding results. The leadership appreciates his contribution to the city's defense, and therefore he, along with his friends, receives an invitation to act as instructors. They will have to help freshmen undergo military training and convey valuable experience. Several more talented hunters will be selected to help this task. Chris agreed to take part in this. He always dreamed of becoming a master for the young generation. All this happened much earlier than he could assume. Sometimes life makes an unexpected turn. The instructor will be not only Chris. Such an offer was received by Jan, Dwayne, and Beauty Margaret. All of them today act as masters and can teach newcomers to everything they know. Not all freshmen know how talented and their master is formed. Not everyone is watching the news, so Chris will have to explain that he repeatedly saved the city from danger and now has the right to train others. It is difficult to achieve respect when the master is not much older than his students. Chris can always resign, show his strength and hit the students, or be smarter and explain everything in detail. He chose the most intriguing option and immediately showed who is the main one here. His whole young detachment is nothing more than garbage. The master considers them useless insignificants who are not ready for serious trials. At the same time, he is ready to take up them with both hands and turn these spineless worms into real monsters. To do this, students will have to go through hell. Chris advises them to put on the diapers in advance. He added motivation to them and talked about what heroes they will become after his training. It really acted, and after a few minutes the young guard went on a run. It will be interesting to observe this. Non-standard techniques always lead to amazing results. Chris chose the tactics of a personal example. He learned this from Bella. Bella immediately began to scream and said that she did not support such a technique and did not teach him this. Other instructors chose a more affectionate approach and did not call their students garbage. In some ways, they were still like Chris and tried to show a personal example for training. Even Yang tried to be a good instructor, despite the fact that he has long been rotten inside. By that time, Chris stopped playing the role of a good guy and decided that the students should train and the master should enjoy. He orders them to push up to exhaustion, while he himself drinks a delicious cocktail, sunbathing in the sun. I won't be surprised if even here Ian finds a way to try to get him out of himself. Chris copes with his duty and combines various tactics of training. Sometimes he calls students garbage and makes them die in the training field, and sometimes he shows an example and performs exercises with them. It is not clear who taught him this, but other instructors clearly want to take an example from him. Theoretical classes and training of students have officially ended. Now Bella congratulates each of them on the beginning of practical classes. This means that together with the instructor, they will go to the forest to catch ghosts and kill demons. It will be much more fun than constantly pressing and running circles in the stadium. Bella asks instructors to be careful and pay attention to the health of students. There is no doubt that the Beauty Margaret will listen to her advice, and nothing will happen in her group. Doubts begin when we talk about such a guy as Chris, who can arrange a real chaos and independently kill several naughty students. There is also no trust in Jan. This guy is too angry to be a good master. Bella may not even hope. She will have to work for a long time, and she may not even think about pension. Very soon, joyful students went to the forest in anticipation of the first battle with the monsters. Here they will have to face the troubles that they had only read and heard from older students about before. Perhaps in the afternoon, the forest will seem to be a good picnic place. But when the evening comes, the clouds are thickening, and the demonic aura crawls out of the ground. The Margaret group was ready to fight monsters, but it turned out that the monsters were not ready for this. The demons have already met with the Chris group and are now ready to move to the other end of the world. If only not to meet this guy again. If this goes on, then the rest of the students will not get the opportunity to prove themselves. The King of Demons very quickly turned small and smiling children into real monsters. Now they cut, beat, and make any living creature in this forest suffer. Margaret asks Chris to behave a little more restrained and leave at least a small group of demons alone. Margaret has always been the most adequate girl at the academy, which cannot be said about the King of Demons. Even despite his madness, sometimes Chris can offer something worthwhile. He wants to unite with Margaret and Dewey in order to share experience and explore the forest. After they came to an agreement, he gladly shared his life and eggs with them. The students thought that the practical part would be very boring, and as a result became part of the incredible fun. Now Jan and his team begins serious problems. He could not agree with the rest of the masters and conclude an alliance. Now he has become a victim and light target for Chris and his friends. Now he has to use power to drive away strangers from his team. While Yang is trying to stabilize the situation, demons are already ordering tickets to Africa to feel at least a little freer. This day reminded the ghosts of the fear that he had once owned people. The next morning, the masters returned to the academy with their students and met with Bella. She said that the Chris team killed the most monsters and therefore they take first place in the ranking. Everyone except Yana was happy and congratulated their friend on a well-deserved victory. Again and again, Chris manages to overtake this guy and leave him behind the other garbage. Sooner or later, Jan will certainly receive additional forces, and then we will witness bloodthirsty reprisals. He has long dreamed of punishing a self-confident and arrogant genius who imagined himself to be God. Although Yang has already played repeatedly, but this does not prevent him from trying again and again. Sweet revenge makes this guy go to a crazy risk and encounter a murder terminator. Without the discovery of additional opportunities, the main villain has no chance to win. He will lose until he understands that his talent is not enough to become a star. Chris continues to mock his competitor. Sometimes his arrogant style begins to enrage. At the same time, students of the academy enjoy when the local hero punishes the main bully. Even Bella is not going to stop this fun. Sometimes she too is not averse to looking at what Chris does. He could have killed his main enemy for a long time, but for some reason gives him the opportunity to live. Perhaps this is somehow connected with the past life, and the one who killed the past version of our hero. In the future, we will definitely find out, but now the preparation is over, and the masters decided to note this. Yan never felt such despondency and resentment to the world around him. On this black day, he vowed to take revenge, even if he had to sell his soul to the devil for this. In the evening, Chris returned home and gladly discovered that everything was fine here. He felt the light aroma of sweet broth and became interested in what would be for dinner. Margot chicken soup is already ready. Recently, she studied a lot to surprise her beloved brother. In the past, her culinary masterpieces could send a person to intensive care. Has something changed now? Chris ate absolutely everything that the sister prepared, and surprisingly, felt even better than before. A few hours later, when everyone went to bed, the King of Demons felt weakness and heat in the whole body. Sharon was worried about her love and began to analyze his condition. At that moment, it immediately became easier for him, and he said that it was time to unite the aura of the ghost and man. They should begin the process of cultivation and finally increase the level of their spiritual energy. The next 2 days, Chris practically did not leave his room and had a great time. Together with Sharon, he feels as comfortable as possible and forgets about all surrounding problems. Sometimes a person can forget about problems, but the problems will never forget about a person. Bella called her student and reminded him of the task. Today, he must hit the road. If he does not, he will regret it very much. The elder will personally lead young masters to the mission. The test should be very interesting. The hunters collected their things and went to the sea, not at all for rest or bathing. Next to them is a higher-level master, Elder Jack. He will be a conductor on this task. At first glance, he seemed to be a rather cheerful and responsive master, with whom it is easy to find a common language. Today, hunters are waiting for a special mission. They will have to go to the legendary Island of Shadows. Now there are ghosts who infected local residents and turned them into monsters. It is necessary to defeat demons and save people. And first you have to explore the area and collect all the necessary information. You can't relax even on the way to the island. The sea is also teeming with dangerous creatures. Sea demons are only waiting for the moment to attack and prevent the invasion.